is the first watch of the day. This video is called The Legend of Jeff, and it's by JCS Psychology. Jeff.
Am I under arrest?
For now.
I'm under arrest?
Yeah, I'll explain everything, but before I explain myself to you, before we talk to each other, I need to read your rights, okay?
What am I under arrest for?
Well, like I said, I need to read your rights first. Obviously, the charge is robbery, okay?
He doesn't know what he's under arrest
I'm under arrest for robbery?
You are, but let me read your rights real quick, okay? And then I'll explain it all to you. Is that okay? Let me do that real fast.
I mean, that's so funny. Like, literally. Wait, I need to do an introduction for YouTube. Hello, YouTube. We're reacting to true crime. I'm having my girl moment. It's gonna be very fun. We're gonna learn how to commit crimes and how to get away with them on stream. Yippee yippee yoo. Oh yeah.
Alright, Jeff. Can you read with me? Just read in your head, okay? Before we ask you any questions, you must understand what your rights are. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in the court of law. Does that make sense? You've probably heard these before, haven't you? Does that make sense? Did you understand your rights?
He's already practicing his right to remain silent.
Did you understand your rights, Jeff? Yes or no? You understand? Do you understand what I read you? Did you comprehend what I read you?
He's already practicing it.
Jeff, I'm just here to talk to you and figure out what happened and move you on out of here, at least some of it. So do you understand the rights I read to you?
He's just trying to take a nap. Or he's like really zooted.
If you got something that says you didn't do this robbery, this is your chance to talk to us.
Oh.
Okay, good cop.
No, usually I'm the prick.
He's like so over.
You look like the prick.
You look like
This is Jeff. Jeff is a heroin addict and
Let's
has been for
go.
the last 14 years.
Let's go,
He
Jeff.
is 6'5", weighs 153 pounds,
Damn.
and has now found himself in the unfortunate circumstance of being charged with armed robbery.
6'5" and 153 pounds is crazy. Holy shit. Yeah, lanky boy.
State of Georgia. So if found guilty, they will render him the minimum term of 10 years without parole, up to the maximum term of life in prison.
Jesus.
Jeff has been through the system multiple times over, and he will know that if indeed found guilty, his sentence will be considerably longer than the minimum 10 years due to his previous convictions.
No.
Jeff, do you understand your rights? Yes or no? I'm not asking
He's
if you
just
want to talk to me
over
at this
it.
point.
He's
I just
just
want to make you
over it.
understand what I read to you.
So am I under arrest?
Yes, you're under arrest.
Get me back to the cell. I don't talk to you motherfuckers.
Okay, fair enough.
You want a Coke?
Yeah.
He's played
You gonna
your
be able to pop it
games
open or give me two?
before.
Jeff has become somewhat of a cult figure in the domain of interrogation footage. His recognition seems to have grown through his own popularity, as opposed to the notoriety of his crimes, like most others. Conveying the exact reasoning behind this can be tricky, as the interest in this character will no doubt vary by the individual. Yet we found the most collective reason can be explained through a single pop culture reference.
Is it bad that my first instinct is like, don't drink that? They could have put something in it? That's like my first instinct as soon as I saw that he handed him a Coke. I don't know.
The anti-hero. While the concept is timeless, the actual term was created through the realm of modern cinema. There's a diverse number of characters passing through the decades that fit the criteria. Yet perhaps the most textbook example could be the protagonist from the 2003 feature Bad Santa,
Oh
a
my God.
middle-aged man simply known as Willie. This is a character that lies, cheats, steals, swears at children, drinks an inconceivable amount of alcohol,
I
and is
love it when
generally
terrible
extremely
characters are
unpleasant to every
protagonists.
single person he comes across.
Look who's here, Jimmy. It's Santa.
Fucking right.
Let's tell him what you want for Christmas.
I'm on my fucking lunch break, okay?
On paper, this is an extremely unlikable individual, yet for some reason, we root for him while following his story. Anti-heroes are flawed, as are we. Their moral complexity mirrors our own, and just like us, they are learning and growing as they move along the path of life. Their mistakes make us think of our mistakes.
Yeah.
And perhaps the reason we root for their redemption is the reflection of ourselves rooting for our own. So you might be curious about the contrast between the anti-hero and the villain.
Why does the anti-hero not have oh, he has half of his arm behind his back. I was like, why do they have to have one of their arms chopped off to be an anti-hero?
Embrace and relate to, while the other we despise and detach from. Both are driven by selfish motivations, yet our emotional response differs between them. The reason for this, while not necessarily obvious, is a relatively simple formula. The anti-hero must have a glimmer of humanity alongside a noticeable vulnerability. This is what allows the viewer to truly connect with the character.
Hand.
It allows us to forgive them when they are unethical, but admire them when they are noble. It allows them to be angry, cowardly, and greedy, but also
greedy? Anti-hero? That's what Cuddlekitten is. She's just a terrible person. But you'll soon realize that Cuddlekitten has many, many aspects to her personality that deserve and merit empathy.
cheerful, brave, and empathetic.
Who the fuck is Thurman? Is that you? Is your name Thurman?
Yeah.
Thurman Merman.
Yeah.
Jesus.
With relation to Jeff, while many of us can't relate to the feeling of being addicted to heroin for well over a decade, we can certainly understand the feeling of sadness. While we may not be able to put ourselves directly in the shoes of an addict, we can somewhat relate to the adversity that comes with it, not to mention the incredible magnitude of the situation he is going through in this video. How he responds to this very moment is quite literally the precursor to his entire future. He is at a crossroad moment in life, where on one side is the possibility of hope, and on the other side is the outright guarantee of despair. The long-term path he goes down will be the consequences of the short-term choices he makes, all of which have to be judged and decided on while going through the early stages of heroin withdrawal.
Yeah, no, you can see it in all of his bodily movements. He's kind of cycling between what appears to be extreme apathy, extreme irritation, and just hopelessness, because he very well knows that if he he can't help but want to stand up for himself, but at the same time, he knows that if he does it too much, then he'll probably just have a worse off time in prison.
I need methadone.
You need methadone?
Yeah, you guys can get me that methadone or what?
I don't have any. Do you have medication for it, or a prescription for it? Or?
No.
What do you need methadone for?
Because I'm a fucking junkie and you guys, I can't get no methadone. I'm gonna go through withdrawal here in a minute.
Where do you usually get your methadone from?
I don't get it. I get heroin.
How long you been using heroin?
Long time, buddy. What are you trying to talk to me about here?
Talk to you about what happened last night.
They just want to know where the source
Here's
is.
the deal. Either you're in a bad set of circumstances, or you went and committed an armed robbery last night.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm in a shitty, wrong place at the wrong time, obviously. I didn't commit no fucking armed robbery.
All right, then let's talk about this. Let's
I
not
don't have
keep
nothing.
up
I
the
don't talk
act.
to the police, man.
I think it's in your best interest to.
How?
Man.
I don't talk to
you're
the
sitting
police.
Here, okay.
I've been through the system, buddy. I know how
I know
it
you
works.
have. I know you have,
You're
Jeff.
not my friend.
I'm not your friend.
You're trying to fucking get me. Or you're
No,
trying
I'm not trying to get
all
you.
you're trying to get is some fucking stupid ass fucking confession, and you're not gonna get one.
Jeff, I'm not going to get a confession out of you for nothing.
Exactly, because I
And
didn't
I'm
do
not trying to
nothing.
get a
Of course you're not getting
Okay.
it for nothing, but it's because there's probably some totally legal scheme you have going on in your precinct where the more arrests you make, the more you get a fucking bonus for it or something.
And I'm gonna tell you, I didn't commit
Your
no armed
promotion.
robbery, and y'all ain't got no fucking evidence saying I did. Let me go. All you do is
Quotas.
find me sitting in my buddy's house because my fucking buddy's dog's going ape shit. I go outside, there are cops everywhere, and they spotlight me. They say, "Come here." I say, "What's up?" They search me. They ain't
Hang
find
on.
nothing. What's
Let
up?
me read this.
No.
before- Yes.
Because I'm not
Oh,
gonna
gee.
sign it.
You don't have to sign it. But let me read it for you. Okay?
I'm not signing nothing.
You don't have to sign it. Let me read it.
You already read it to me earlier.
I know we did, but I'm going to read it to you again.
Thanks for the coat.
You're welcome. Before we ask any questions, you must understand what your rights are. If you cannot afford a lawyer and want one, a lawyer will be provided for you. If you decide to answer questions now without a lawyer present, you will still have the right. You also have the right to stop answering at any time until you talk to a lawyer. Do you understand the rights?
I don't know. You have the right to stop answering at any time, but we retain the right to pressure you as much as possible into speaking anyway. It's so frustrating. It's little
Tell me what
loopholes
happened
like
last
that.
night. Plain and simple. Your side of the story.
I'm not talking to you. I'm a lawyer.
All right. This is what I don't understand. I know.
Why is
this
there
what I
no
don't
lawyer in
understand,
the
Jeff.
room?
You were sitting there talking just like you were ready to sit here and tell me what happened last night, and then all of a sudden I read that to you, and you screw it, I ain't talking to you. I want a lawyer. I don't understand that. What changed?
Because I told you what. I already told you what happened.
You didn't.
How didn't I?
You didn't tell me what happened last night.
How didn't I just
On
tell you?
Ali's
But now
VTuber
you
career,
didn't
Jeff
tell
is
me,
in his.
and I
Why are
can't
you
talk
betting
to
my
you and ask for
VTuber
one.
career on his
That's fine.
business?
But I will tell you
Your
right now,
own
you're still on
VTuber
hold for
career.
robbery.
I know. I don't know why I need a fucking lawyer because obviously I didn't do nothing. And obviously you guys know I didn't do nothing because I've been arrested for the same bullshit before and you guys don't interview me this much. So, wham bam, thank you for the coke, put me back in the cell.
Wham bam, thank you for the coke, put me back in the cell. Let's fucking go. Thanks for the 2 months, Ola.
Right. I know we did this twice, but I gotta do it again every time, okay? Before I ask you any questions, I gotta read your rights. You understand that? Okay. Go ahead and sign there. Let me take your gift off.
Look, I'm not signing nothing. I don't wanna
Okay.
sign.
You don't have
Was
to
he
sign
allowed
that.
to go to the
You understand
bathroom at
the rights,
all?
right? That's all I need. A verbal yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
When's this coke gonna be here? Or is that just a fairy tale?
It's coming. He's getting there right now. He'll be here in about 2 minutes. Let's watch
Aw,
the sewage sheet.
yeah. We've watched videos from this channel before, but I don't think we've watched this particular video. I remember saving it.
It tastes good.
Mm-hmm.
We did watch this? Shh, no we didn't. We did not watch this. Hee hee.
I have enough evidence
Like what?
of the armed robbery, okay?
I don't remember it.
You know, if you're saying you didn't do it, you need to give me your side of the story.
I didn't do it.
Okay, well, give me your side of the story. You got, convince me. Because I got a lot of evidence. I got a lot of physical evidence.
Well, like what? Name the physical.
Well, I don't need to, why should I tell you that? I mean,
You should, if you're gonna brag about how much evidence you have, then you can probably tell him what the fuck the evidence is. I've got a lot of physical evidence, but I'm not gonna tell you anything
you
about
haven't been helping me at all.
So dumb.
Because I don't believe
He's
it.
so dumb.
There's only a couple pieces of evidence I'm
It's so
missing.
stupid. Who
Name
trained
it.
this
What's
guy?
that?
Name
Lion.
Well, why would you do that? You haven't helped me out at all. You give me a little bit, I give you a little bit. We go back and forth. I give you one of my
He's
pieces
so
of evidence,
bad at
I
his
give you a little
job.
something.
No, anything.
Maybe it's classified. No, because if they had, it's like it's like what the one chatter said. If they had enough evidence, then they wouldn't be fucking doing all
Thank
this
you.
shit.
Can and will be used against me.
Sure, but anything you say here, I can also tell your parole officer, and you help me out.
That doesn't mean dick. There's no way. I didn't do it. There's no way.
How drunk were you? Were you drunk?
No, I was pretty sober.
So you're in your right mind. You remember everything about the night, right? So you couldn't have done something not remembered. You
Did
couldn't
they
have
even
gone
call
robbed the
for
place
a
and not
lawyer
remembered.
or what?
No.
Okay, so you would remember if you robbed the place. So I'm willing to go to the prosecutor. I'm willing to go to the parole officer and say, this guy's a good guy. He helped me out. He didn't do anything. I know you don't want to go back to jail, right? Back to prison.
Well, fuck.
You kind of have to get their side of the story and build rapport with the suspect. Yeah, but like, where the fuck is the lawyer?
Like I am, if you're gonna charge me with some bogus shit. You guys don't. I mean, what do you got really? That I was at a buddy's house and I happened to come outside because you guys were fucking swarming the area and they
Which
fucking.
door did you come out of?
I came out of the front door. You know what? I'm not saying myself, man. I'm done, man. Fuck this. The only reason I came up here is to get a fucking Coke.
Okay. You're not getting out.
Oh no.
He's only putting up with this for a Coke.
Make it quick. I got things to do.
Butterfinger, you promise.
I didn't promise you that. I said we'd see what happens. Alright, like I said, you haven't helped me out at all. Why should I help you out? I got you a soda. That's good enough.
Jeff was released from custody just under 12 hours later. And that takes us to the final and perhaps the most important component of an anti-hero, the conclusion, which unfortunately in this particular case is unknown. The final outcome of this story will vary depending on the source. Some with a happy ending, others a cautionary tale. One legend has it that Jeff got clean soon after his release and now works in the corporate marketing team for Coca-Cola, while another states that he was picked up the day after for the same charge and is now facing down a 15-year sentence in Georgia State Prison.
I choose to believe the
If we go by
first.
the Hollywood formula, an anti-hero's actions throughout the course of their life are so drastic and single-minded that they only ever lead to salvation or destruction, and their final decision is always dictated by what they have learned and how they have changed throughout the course of the story. The paradox here is that we don't even need the theme of imprisonment to mold the outcome of this particular story, as the theme of addiction is more than enough. Whether he goes to prison or not, Jeff will either manage to get clean and rebuild his life, or he won't. He is headed for salvation
But what
or
happened
destruction
to
no
Jeff?
matter
I
what.
need to know
And
what
that
happened to
single concept
Jeff.
can perhaps
Tell
define
me what
Jeff
happened
as
to
an
Jeff right
anti-hero.
now.
His
Funny
outcome is a
YouTube man.
mystery, but either way it goes, it most certainly conforms to the anti-hero's ending.
Whoa, Santa!
Yeah.
You're bringing my present early?
No.
Oh.
But I never told you what I wanted.
I said I.
Okay, wait. This is the next video. This is called Who is Canada's Unidentified Maximum Security Prisoner? Because I know a lot of you are American or unfamiliar with with everything about Canada. We might as well introduce you to some of our finest. Yeah.
Hello again, and welcome back to the channel. I must say, after spending so much time sifting through case files, I generally find myself becoming desensitized to mysteries.
Spending a lot of time sifting through classified case style.
Immediately pulls up Reddit.
Sifting through a lot of classified information. A lot of case files.
Unsolved mystery Reddit.
Is involving true crime. However, every now and again, I must admit, one topic will follow me for months on end, and I think we all have that one individual case that we just want so desperately solved. And there hasn't been much coverage of this particular topic, so I thought I would do a video on it. This one definitely gets the mind going, so let me begin to tell you all about Canada's most mysterious maximum security prisoner. And the story all begins on October 28th, 2012 in Montreal, Quebec, Canada.
Oh, God.
When a man had arrived from a flight from Cuba bearing a French passport. He claimed it was not his first visit to Canada, and he said he had originally come 6 months earlier and had left a week before for his friend's sister's funeral wake. As this would turn out, this was a lie. He was still given a 10-day visitor visa, and when he went to a Days Inn where he had a reservation, he also had $3,000 in his bank account. And
I don't know why the issue with a lot of criminal, like a lot of backstories is that people make them needlessly complicated. So if you're not going to be visiting somebody's fucking funeral, you're not going to be visiting your friend's sister's funeral, you might as well just say, like, I'm there for vacation. I'm there for vacation. They just overthink it so much.
And a return ticket. However, he would never actually end up leaving the country, and 6 months later, he would be arrested for a completely unbelievable scam. And when he was arrested, he would go by the name Herman Emmanuel Fankum. And the scam that he ended up getting arrested for was known as a black money or wash scam. Fankum and 4 other co-conspirators who are yet to be identified responded to a Toronto real estate ad claiming that they had money coming in from South Africa that they would use to pay for a property. However, the money was coated in a special black coating to disguise it so they could get it out of the country. And in order to remove the coating, they needed a certain expensive chemical, and in order to convince the wary buyer, they even demonstrated how the chemical would work. And after they demonstrated the process to the man, he was told that he needed to put money down for this special chemical in order for him to receive a cut of the cash that would be coming in. And
my God.
unfortunately for him, the black money turned out to be fake, and he had been out about $450,000 by the time he figured it out.
Holy shit.
Officers arrested Fankum at a hotel where he was staying under another name. He did not have his passport with him. Once the police had realized that he was a visitor of Canada and his visa had expired, they had called Canada Border Services Agency, or the CBSA. The CBSA stayed his criminal charges in order to expedite his removal from Canada, but there was a problem. Herman Emmanuel Fankum was not who he claimed to be.
Oh,
In
really?
fact, officials could not figure out who he really was.
Oh, shit.
And since this is a mystery video, you probably know where this is going.
They still haven't figured out who he is. Whoa! He burned off his fingerprints and his family's all dead because he murdered them in cold blood as soon as he stepped out of his mother's womb.
First, he was cooperative, but once his identity was brought into question, he became defiant. At one immigration detention review hearing, he told the adjudicator to go to hell when all she had done was simply ask for confirmation that she was speaking to the right person.
Damn.
And over the course of 4.5 years, he has refused to attend 51 detention review hearings. He's told people to go fuck themselves.
Continued detention? I mean, after a certain while, can't there be penalties from, like, refusing to go? Are there no laws about that?
He's claimed that he's been kidnapped, and the situation has spiraled so far out of control that the judge stated, "This court's impression is that the unknown person considers himself to be a director of a play, and Canadian authorities are but actors subject to his direction."
Sheesh.
Because he can't be deported to his home country, he's somewhat caught in a legal loophole. I will note, throughout all of the 51 detention review hearings, he demanded to speak with French diplomats because he claimed to be French working in England. And when given the opportunity to meet with them, he still refused to go twice. And the extent of this person's defiance has gone as far as where he will not allow people to take pictures of him and has fought off giving any kind of fingerprint. And that seems to make sense, as it's very hard to find.
Can't they just take him while he's asleep or something?
And any other photos of him
He's gotta go to
online.
sleep at
And
some
there doesn't
point.
appear to be any video footage of him either. Getting back to him being French, a later tip
You don't think
from
they can? Really? That's kidnapping? Huh. It's illegal? I didn't know that. I didn't know that kidnapping was...
Poll informed authorities that he had previously faked a birth certificate to gain various travel and identity documents in Paris. On top of that, there was no one named Herman Emmanuel Fankum in the French
There are
registry.
no Fankums here.
French authorities stated that they did not believe he had a criminal record in France and that they believed he was from Cameroon. But where this gets incredibly interesting is when France busted a forgery ring in 2009. Where after an extensive investigation into this ring, one person had actually admitted to creating a forgery by the name of Herman Emmanuel Fankum.
Oh.
Apparently, whoever had the passport at that time was arrested attempting to board a flight to Canada, of all places.
But they
And for
didn't.
some reason, he was released. I couldn't find any press on this forgery ring bust in 2009 outside of this article I'm referencing. However, I did find one in 2008, but this does seem to be a bit contradictory. You'd think that the person who was caught using a
I can make a forged passport super easy. These guys are shelling out €750. Let me make a passport right now. Hello? I can't just say that. Like, watch me. Fucking watch me. Look. Behold. That's his name. His name is Anon. Day of birth? Well, obviously he was born 420. 420. 69. Gonna use American month, day, year here. Okay. Issuing authority is... Fuck yeah, Stan? I can't type. I'm not gonna write all that shit out. And this, the country seal is... let's make up a country. Wait, I'm not making up a country. That's just the Philippines. Okay, that's just the Philippines. Alright, there we go. Yeah! So easy. Allie, that's literally just the Philippines. I was like, let me make up a country. Accidentally invents the Philippines again. It's so easy. This is literally so easy. And you're telling me that some dumb people are shelling out 750 euros for that bullshit? Maybe they deserve to be caught. Anyway, back to the video. That was a necessary tangent. Yay!
A fake passport would at least have the thing confiscated from them. An investigator from Cameroon told the CBSA that they believed Fankum had used to be a clothing vendor there who had moved to Britain, and even showed a picture of the man in the area where he had supposedly lived. In Britain, police turned up a positive fingerprint match between Fankum and another identity, Buon Emmanuel Fabile, a citizen of Cameroon. And as if the situation couldn't get more convoluted, it also matched the identity of 3 other men, one from Cameroon, one from Haiti, and one of...
Dude's got fucking universal fingerprints. He's 3 people, just like me. Can we do a full-length identity forgery stream?
unknown origin. This same person had also been arrested in England twice, and had stayed in prison under 2 different names. And might I add, both charges were for fraudulent documents. And while it does not disclose the full details, it does say that he also appeared in a German database, which potentially means that he spent some time there too.
This
whole situation is completely ridiculous, and we're no closer to getting his true identity. And despite all of these resources going into finding who this man is, it is still truly unknown. Naturally, you have to ask, who the hell is this guy? No connection to family, financial investment, or anything alike. This person seems to be a nomadic serial fraudster, and while he remains in prison, he continues to refuse to cooperate, leaving himself in illegal limbo. He is simply known as the unknown person, and this naturally begs a ton of questions.
That's really freaky. That's really freaky to me. Is identity stuff like this? Like, I remember going fucking crazy when I was like 8 years old and learning about the whole Jane Doe, John Doe thing for the first time. It fucked me up for such a long time. Like, just having a missing identity.
With the largest being, how did this person get into these circumstances where their preferred alternative is staying in a maximum security prison? And it's gotten to the point that in June of 2018, an IRB adjudicator had ordered the man to be released because they were simply so fed up with the situation. And while that was denied and he still remains in jail, it leaves us to speculate heavily, especially when in 2019, the details of this hearing and this case have been made private. And to quote another National Post article, it would write, "The mystery of the unknown person may never be publicly solved after the Immigration and Refugee Board made hearings."
Just give him a name. Call him, Noe. A Noe.
On the case private as an accommodation to his legal counsel's concern the unidentified imprisoned man may disclose information that would be harmful to his own case. And to quote further, his case is being heard by Immigration Division of Immigration and Refugee Board, the IRB, where hearings must by law be open to the public, similar to court trials, except under exceptional circumstances. This whole situation is so incredibly bizarre. And while the reasoning cited is not to create any additional distress to the man's mental health and not have any media coverage on the situation, it really leaves everything wide open for interpretation. We do know that he's involved with some ring of fraud, that's for sure. However, the bizarre series of arrests with little to no background info makes this person a walking ghost. One of the main theories that has been circulating around is that he's some sort of spy. However, one major counterpoint to this is that spies probably
As soon as he said spy, I immediately looked behind me and make sure there are no spies in here.
Wouldn't be involved in this kind of fraud, and the fact that they targeted someone from a Craigslist ad seems even more off character. However, I have to question, how was he able to get that passport back in the first place when he was arrested back in France, and the other 2 times he was arrested in England? And this definitely does make sense. However, the connection to Cameroon, if he is actually from there, might make it a lot easier for someone like this to go under the radar.
True.
Many people look for any opportunity to get out of a developing country and look for greener pastures.
They might,
but on the other hand,
their databases might not be as refined, so it might have been easy to just completely forgo his identity.
here, this doesn't explain why this person was traveling around and around and around. While I like to generally lean on some conclusive theory at the end of these videos, I really don't know in this case. However, I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about this. This is barely sociable.
They just straight up leave him unidentified. That's crazy. Unsolved mysteries are real big mysteries. And yeah, that's true. There's like, I mean, fucking Shawshank Redemption and everything. There are lots of people that just continue to commit crimes just because they don't know what else to do with their lives. Because they'll be joining society in like really weird, awkward points in their time, in their lives, like at like 40, 49, like having spent 30 years in prison. Like, you don't have a background. You don't have like your family could have, like, who knows what your family's up to, or if you even have a family anymore, or if you ever had a family to begin with. It's like, for them, for a lot of people, it's just better to just commit another crime and just stay where they're familiar with. It's a very vicious cycle. Yeah. Very, 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 very keen things to keep in mind. But boy, oh boy, if you want to freak me out a heap ton, like just a fuck ton, just like show me missing identity shit. That always gets me really interested. And also really freaked out. Okay, let's see. The next one is called Japan's Strangest Live Stream. Yes. Japan's Strangest Live Stream. I don't know. Missing identities to me are just real freaky. They're just real freaky. Knowing that this person exists, but there's no record of them existing is just real freaky. The intent of this video is to inform, not to encourage harassment of any individuals mentioned. Please be respectful.
The Japanese are known for their extreme game shows, many of which have put their contestants in physical and psychological danger to provide their audiences with a unique viewing experience.
Ooh.
In the late 90s, early 2000s,
putting yourself in devastating mental conditions to provide entertainment for your audience? Who the fuck would do that?
A broadcast that many believe to be the most radical and potentially unethical instance of this aired on a Tokyo-based network called Nippon Television. The show was titled Susunu Denpa Shonen, and it consisted of a live stream of a single room.
Well, that's
Inside
freaky.
the room was a stack of envelopes, a rack of magazines, water, a gas burner, and one man who was asked to undergo one of the most rigorous endurance performances ever broadcast. That man was a struggling comedian, desperate for
Thanks
fame,
for the gifts.
who went by
Thanks
the
for the
name
sub here.
Nasubi. In January of 1998, Nasubi, which translates in English to eggplant, was chosen from a raffle of approximately 20 applicants for a contest titled A Life of Prizes. After winning, Nasubi was escorted to a space no bigger than a small studio apartment.
Wait, that room is still way bigger than the room that I used to live and stream from. That's still bigger than the room that I used to stream from.
He was asked to begin the game with absolutely nothing, including his clothes.
Why is he showing us his butt?
He was given only water, and in order to provide himself with food, clothing, or any means of entertainment during his stay in the room, Nasubi must win them via sweepstakes. The sweepstakes could be found in the stacks of magazines, which he could enter by mailing contest applications using the envelopes provided. This was the point of the game, to survive solely on his contest prizes.
Damn!
Once Nasubi's winnings reached a monetary value of 1 million yen, or roughly 9,000 US dollars, he was declared the winner and allowed to exit the room.
They took his clothes away? They made him strip? Oh, I didn't catch that part. I was just too focused on discerning whether any of those magazines were of questionable character.
Resume his life and enjoy his newfound celebrity. So, did Nasubi succeed? That all depends on how you define success. To answer this question, let's take an in-depth look at Nasubi's time inside the room. Immediately upon being left alone, Nasubi's priority was to cover himself, and the very first contest he applied for during this first episode of the live stream was an apron.
Oh.
Not only did he not win the apron, but during his entire 15-month-long stay...
15 months? 15 months? Oh my god! Holy shit.
...remained completely nude. The majority of his time was spent submitting contest applications. In the first month, Nasubi applied to 5,748 sweepstakes.
Whoa.
While waiting for notifications of his first winnings, Nasubi was taunted by ill fortune. He answered the phone to misdialed callers, and during one frustrating afternoon, after several days without food, a ramen delivery boy knocked on Nasubi's door by mistake. But after many days of waiting, becoming desperately hungry, Nasubi finally won his first prize, 12 pots of fiber jelly, which he immediately began eating.
They didn't give him food either, so like literally everything really is just what he wins. Holy fuck.
His second prize was 5 kilograms of rice. Unfortunately, he quickly realized he didn't have a pot to cook it in. After failing to eat the rice raw, Nasubi discovered he could cook the rice in an empty fiber jelly container by setting them close to the stove burner.
They didn't even give him things to cook it with? Look at how fucking skinny he's getting.
For the
Holy
month
shit.
of February, Nasubi continued to win the following: 1,000 yen, body soap, canned spaghetti, subsequently realizing he didn't have a can opener for the meat sauce.
No!
Despite many prizes
Holy
having
fuck.
little or no practical value, Nasubi seemed grateful for everyone he received, and it's no doubt that with an entire waking life consisting of little more than filling out contest applications, the brief adrenaline rush of the knock at the door became his only source of excitement.
What does this say about society?
Nasubi's basic needs of course had to be met, so food was of paramount importance. Although let's remember that the higher the monetary value of the prize, the closer Nasubi was to his 1 million yen goal. Reaching this goal proved incredibly time-consuming. To get halfway there, it took Nasubi 6 months and 38,000 contest entries.
Oh my god.
During this time, some notable prizes included a bicycle, which once the initial excitement wore off, he remembered had no practical value in his tiny room. He rode it around briefly, then never again on the live stream. Panties, which was his first article of clothing, although they didn't fit.
No!
A stuffed seal, which he named Binasu, befriending it.
Well, at least
A
he got that
14-inch
friend.
TV set, although there was no antenna or cable, so all he could view was static.
No.
A toothbrush and toothpaste, which allowed him to brush his teeth for the first time during his 3-month stay.
He wasn't allowed.
Around-
He didn't even have anything to brush or. Oh my god. Oh
On
my
the 6
god.
month
This gets
mark,
worse.
the show had
It
become
just keeps getting
incredibly
bad.
popular, and the local news media somehow discovered where Nasubi's secluded room was located. So, producers woke Nasubi in the middle of the night, blindfolded him, and escorted him to a new, yet nearly identical room.
That's fucky. That's so fucky. What the hell? Just taking him to another prison. Can they at least given some fucking food?
Before this moment, A Life of Prizes was broadcast on Sunday nights and edited down to a 10-minute weekly summary. But with this room switch, producers decided to offer a live web stream alternative, causing them to digitally follow Nasubi around with a joystick in order to censor his genitalia. As you can see, the quality of the live stream is primitive, but keep in mind this is in the late 90s. It took Nasubi another 3 months to get 2/3 of the way to his 1 million yen goal, and throughout the months of August, September, and October, Nasubi submitted an additional 17,000 contest entries. Notable winnings included a watermelon, tickets to see Spice Girls the movie.
Wait, did he get to watch the Spice Girls movie?
A VHS player to go with the TV set he had won several months back. After this expensive win, Nasubi hit a string of bad luck. At one point, he went a week without hearing a knock at the door. And during one drastic period, Nasubi completely ran out of food. Rather than rescuing him and risk spoiling the tension of the show, producers opted to relocate Nasubi a second time in hopes that the change would bring about good luck. This new location did indeed prove lucky, as Nasubi won several—
Like, what's really setting in right now is that he has absolutely no privacy because everything is being recorded. So not only is he being tortured, but he literally has nowhere to escape. That's what's really getting me. He can't even, like, I cannot.
Very valuable prizes, including a PlayStation, which he played non-stop for 4 days straight, but he soon banned himself from it after recognizing it as a distraction from filling out contest entries.
No.
A tent which he lived in for several days, but whose sheer size prevented him from doing his dance of gratitude during his winning moments.
No.
Worried—
The thing is, like, he still kept on the show. He still kept up the attitude of, like, a silly guy. And I know, like, the thing is, like, even when you have to, after a certain level of, like, after a certain point, it's just, like, it's really fucking hard.
He would appear ungrateful. Nasubi disassembled his tent and put it away. In the month of December, Nasubi won a very expensive set of automobile tires, a 10,000 yen gift voucher, and finally, putting him just over his 1 million yen goal, a small bag of rice. And after 335 straight days of nothing but sleeping, eating food when available, eating dog food when there was nothing edible available, answering the door, and most importantly, filling out contest entries, Nasubi had finally won. Or had he? At this point, the ratings of the show hovered somewhere around 17 million Japanese viewers.
Oh my god.
For comparison, the highest watched episode of Game of Thrones sits at 16.5 million viewers.
Holy crap.
The people absolutely loved it, and the producers were making millions. The notion of ending it just yet was ridiculous.
No!
So, in the middle of the night, the producers woke Nasubi, showered him with confetti and streamers, and announced that he had finally won the contest. They returned his clothes, but Nasubi hadn't worn clothes in almost a year, and upon dressing, he'd realized he had developed a distaste for them, citing them as being itchy. Although Nasubi was under the impression that the show was over, and his trip to a Korean carnival was a celebratory holiday for his hard work, little did he know that the producers had no intention of allowing him to go home yet.
What?
While still in Korea, Nasubi was blindfolded once again and guided to a fourth—
Is that even within his, like, what would the contract have to be like for them to be able to get away with this for so long?
room, which consisted of the familiar magazine rack, stack of envelopes, and a Korean-Japanese dictionary. Despite not knowing the language, Nasubi was nevertheless instructed to put his Korean-Japanese dictionary to work applying for contests.
No.
His new goal was to earn enough prizes to equate the
But in a
price of a
foreign
plane ticket back
language.
home to Tokyo. It needed only be a one-way economy class ticket. After translating and applying to nearly 7,000 contests, Nasubi met his monetary goal in just 2 short months. But this all happened too quick, so producers required him to make another 9,000 yen in order to upgrade his ticket to business class.
Oh my god.
And Nasubi accomplished this by winning 2 bags of incredibly rare and expensive tea leaves. But this wasn't good enough for the producers, and so they then required him to upgrade his tickets to first class. No problem for Nasubi, who had institutionalized himself to this way of life, and after winning a picture frame, a fox skin, and a live octopus,
oh my god,
Nasubi was a first-class passenger. It was finally over for Nasubi.
How do you win a live octopus? Like, do they send it over in the tank, or do they just dump a live octopus like at you? The god of sweepstakes. Oh my
He'd
god.
won. Producers blindfolded him and led him into his final room.
Stop
Unbeknownst to
blindfolding
Nasubi,
him.
the 4 walls of this room were collapsible, and behind them sat a live studio audience. As soon as Nasubi was left alone in his final room, habit kicked in, and he quickly undressed. After a dramatic countdown, the walls collapsed and Nasubi was met with the cheering applause of thousands of people. The look of shock on his face was both cathartic and sad to watch. At this point, Nasubi had been living this lifestyle for 15 months, having barely spoken to another human being.
They just had to make it worse.
75,000 magazine contests, averaging 1,250 applications per week and nearly 200 applications per day. It took him several minutes to register what was happening. It's difficult to imagine the thoughts that must have been going through his mind in these moments. The show, Susunu Denpa Shonen, was intended to be comedic, featuring a laugh track to punctuate almost every moment featured in their broadcast.
Oh my god.
Even during the moments where Nasubi became visibly distraught, frustrated, and hopeless,
They just didn't give a
the
shit.
live stream would overlay silly sound effects to signal the viewer that his suffering is their entertainment, escorting them away from the intuitive response of pity.
It's the found footage vibe of it too. Just like the quality adds to the eeriness.
Susunu Denpa Shonen went on to film 3 more endurance experiments before being cancelled in 2002 due to the torturous nature of their content. Some of the other contests included requiring contestants to hitchhike across Africa, build a raft on a deserted island and float back to Tokyo, and finally...
This is like the current state of YouTuber challenges. Just spectacle upon spectacle.
In a pitch black room, only to receive light and food whenever their favorite baseball team won a game. Although the show was cancelled, it found a new home in 2009 on the internet under the name Number 2 Nihon Webcast.
No!
But when I went to the site for this, it appeared to be down, so I can only assume this too was ultimately cancelled. Even though most people outside of Japan aren't familiar with Nasubi or the Susunu livestream, Japan's reputation for their cruel reality television is widely acknowledged, and it has been often parodied in Western media.
Is he still alive?
So the question many of you may have now is, what happened to Nasubi?
Yeah!
Did he achieve the fame and fortune he was promised for his remarkable endurance? Well, yes and no. His journal of experiences, titled Nasubi's Prize Contest Life Diary, went on to be published and reached bestseller status. And despite not becoming the world-famous comedian he'd hoped to become, he did find small success in television and film acting.
Okay.
But it's undeniable the psychological toll the livestream had on Nasubi. Because he spent 15 months entirely naked, Nasubi reported having trouble wearing clothes after returning home, and his extended solitude caused his social skills to atrophy. and he found much of his comedic charm and social aptitude gone, leaving him awkward and shy.
No.
Even though Nasubi's exploits remain one of the most watched live streams in the history of Japan, this in-depth look into the brutal 15 months this man endured in order to provide us with an unprecedented viewing experience begs the question: how far should we go to entertain?
This one is the thing that makes that sets the tone different for this particular video and makes it more eerie is that not once do you hear anything about like the producers being, you know, punished for their crimes. Not once do you hear any kind of like legal action being taken against these people. And they made millions. They were not only like never subjected to any kind of like legal trial whatsoever, they were awarded and showered with all sorts of shit. Anywho, it's stuff like this that makes you realize that like a lot of this is stuff that people fail to learn from and will only continue to be an issue. And I kind of feel and kind of worry that like there'll be a point in time in the future where YouTubing gets to this point and then like it just completely shifts the tone of the whole fucking industry. Like, I can just imagine that something really bad is gonna happen and just, like, completely shift what content looks like. I don't know. Because, like, there's gonna be a point of no return. And I feel like it's gonna happen at some point. I can already feel it. Like, you already have people doing shot collar challenges. Somebody's gonna fuck it up and something's gonna go bad and it's not gonna be funny anymore. And you're here for it. Oh, baby. Hoo-hoo. This is the next video. It's called Reddit's Biggest Mystery. Because we love Reddit in this house. Ooh, 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 ooh. Oh, wow. Huh. Wait, this video, this channel that was sent was actually really good. There's quite a few things. There's like the man who lived in an airport for 18 years, a strange world of Breatharianism. I'll do the Reddit one first, but that one looks, this just looks so interesting. Everything's so interesting. The world is full of interesting things. Yes. Lake City Quiet Pills Reddit Mysteries.
The internet is no strange place for oddities or shady business. With billions of people crossing paths on any individual platform each day, there is no shortage of questionable things that go on online. To investigate in today's video, we're going to be looking at one of those internet oddities that leads down a rabbit hole of one of Reddit's very first mysteries. While this mystery has been no stranger to speculation, people have sought to actually create a cohesive narrative for the events surrounding this. What I seek to do today in this video is give you all the details, tell the story, and then give analysis on the events surrounding the Lake City Quiet Pills incident. While we will discuss the main theories of this, I want to remain a skeptic for the sake of uncovering the truth, as I think it's important here to focus on what we actually know rather than get carried away into Spooksville.
But I like it when we get carried away into Spooksville. I want to go full ham.
So that being said, that's what we're going to do. We're going to tackle this incredibly detailed internet mystery, so sit back and enjoy.
I want the spooks! Give me the fucking spooks. U/religion, no, religion of peace. Oh.
The trailhead for this rabbit hole revolves around the Reddit user named Religion of Peace, who joined Reddit back in 2007. He was most known on Reddit as a bit of an elder for his service in the military, but also infamously known as a moderator of the r/jailbait subreddit, which was a subreddit dedicating to posting photos of questionably underage girls. But more on that later. Religion of Peace post history is extensive and crude. There's so much to dig through here to set the stage for the events that unfold, that before we even talk about quiet pills, we need to understand exactly who this guy was.
What did he say? Sorry.
Known as a moderator of the r/jailbait subreddit, which was a subreddit dedicating to posting photos of questionably underage girls. But more on that later. Religion of Peace.
Yeah, that was like a big thing on Reddit. That was a big move. Very big move.
Post history is extensive and crude. There's so much to dig through here to set the stage for the event.
That looked really bad how your tongue went out. I'm sorry. I can't control what my model does. I just ran away to get a Milona because I wanted one.
Events that unfold, that before we even talk about quiet pills, we need to understand exactly who this guy was to save us some confusion down the line. Also, for further reference, Religion of Peace is the same thing as ROP or Milo. The same person. That's all you need to know. Got it? Good. Let's go. Our first post I would like to highlight is from June 6, 2009. Here on a post commemorating the 65th anniversary of D-Day, what follows is a top comment from the user Religion of Peace, who chimes in explaining his experience on D-Day. I'm not going to read through this post because it's not very important, but all you need to know is that he claims to be 79 at the time of this post, putting him at age 14 during D-Day,
Damn.
which is seriously questionable. While many people enlisted in world wars...
It's really weird seeing people over the age of like 70 on Reddit. It's always really weird. I just am automatically default to assuming everybody's like in their 20s to like 50s on the internet. That's like a good like range for me. Oop! I need to close my fridge. Okay. I thought I closed it all the way. I'm sorry.
Below the age of 18. This is still something I highly doubt, as we have nothing but this guy's word to go off of. But what completely debunks this is the fact that if you manage to dig up all the way back into this guy's post history, you would find an Ask Reddit thread in which he says that his age was 70 the year prior. This completely debunks his age.
He's a
which I haven't seen
liar.
a single other person
Imagine lying on Reddit. Who the fuck would ever think to do that?
about on the subject matter. And I was about to actually end my video research once I saw this because I thought it was a hoax. But we're going to progress anyways because what I found completely contradicts that. This is one really weird detail that I just had to throw in this video. But continuing on. Religion of Peace also claimed to have served in the military until 1987, claiming he didn't have enough money to retire and thus sought a job in a computer-related technical field.
Is he just LARPing?
On his older body, and uses this to explain his frequent browsing of Reddit. However, I would like to point out that
If you're on Reddit making up stories to excuse your frequent browsing of Reddit, then you're probably either in a job that is paying you to do nothing, or you're like, that's like, I don't know, or you're just unemployed, and it's just like, the thing with me is like, I check Reddit every day, but that's like my designated once a day for me to look at my notifications. But I like being a frequent commenter on Reddit or replier on Reddit was something I never understood. My job is in Reddit though. Cause like I post there like maybe once every 2 weeks or something. And then maybe an announcement. But I'm not like a prolonged Reddit user. You know, like I never really understood like spending hours upon hours in a day just responding to Reddit threads. I never really got that part.
he actually served 20 to 30 years. It takes about 20 years of service in the military, generally speaking, to gain retirement benefits. So here we have another thing that is just even more questionable. Admittedly, though, He does seem to have some experience in something, as his post history is so centered around the subject matter of being a soldier and revolves around violence that it's hard to look the other way. And despite all the evidence against his career, due to his many hours of commenting, just the sheer number of them, I do believe he has done some time somewhere in some form of service. His and his other use of military jargon does seem to match after researching around. In addition to that, I don't think a human would surround themselves with that subject matter forcefully for that matter of time. Moving on, Religion of Peace frequently posted about his obvious affinity for young girls, stating bluntly as an old man that he would, quote, admire the scenery but not pick the flowers.
Bruh. That's the kind of person that's like gonna get busted for having like 500 terabytes of like CP on their fucking PC. That's the kind of guy that would like and be like, no, just because I like it on the internet doesn't mean I'm a pedophile. And then like a year later, it's like, oh, and just terabytes upon terabytes of it. It becomes like a fucking addiction for those dudes, and it's just
This is creepy to say the least. And as I mentioned earlier, he was a moderator of the r/jailbait subreddit.
Ugh, oh my god. To make matters worse, he was a moderator on that fucking subreddit. The thing is, I have to make a controversial stance here. I am an adult woman enjoyer. I like fully developed bodies and curves and visible signs of maturity.
Further solidifying themselves into the perfect community. So we can say for certain at least one thing. A small detail that I haven't seen many point out when analyzing Religion of Peace post history is his technical skill with computers. He had a verifiable understanding of coding and would frequently post to the r/programming subreddit as well, something very uncharacteristic of an old man. The last thing we can glean from his post history is the frequent promotion of the website lakecityquietpills.com.
Bruh.
That old guy's image hosting website, which is also the nickname of this site, which was a source of the Lake City Quiet Pills incident, and was created as an image hosting website similar to Imgur or PhotoBucket, where users could...
I don't like hearing founder of an image hosting website and moderator of r/jailbait in the same sentence. I don't like hearing both of those things in the same sentence.
Upload
Get
photos
out of my
and
head.
link them
Get
across
rid of
things like
it.
Reddit.
Burn it
This
in the fucking
obviously
fires
was
of
used
hell.
for porn and had quite a bit of images
Diabolical.
on the site and quite a
Terrible.
bit of users as well. So what do we actually know about the username Religion of Peace? Before concluding this section, let's summarize. He likely served some time in the military despite our dates not being exact. We do not know his exact age. We know he was a moderator in the r/jailbait subreddit. We know he has experience as a programmer. And we also know he has a website called lakecityquietpills.com.
Bruh. Incident. Oh, jeez.
And
What happened?
now that that's over with, we know who he is. It's time to finally get on to the story that involves this incident being set in motion. In July of 2009, a new user would make a post on the r/all subreddit by the name of 26, stating the following: "The end of Religion of Peace. He died today. I'm the person who provided Religion of Peace the space for that old guy's
Why?
Milo died today. He was 79 years old. He died at his desk looking at your site. Milo was a mean old fucker. Mean and ornery. He hooked me up with my first gig when I got out of the army. I didn't like finding him like that. Milo don't have any living relatives and no real friends. And other than his landlady and a few people where he worked, he didn't talk to anyone about much of anything. Me, he just tolerated."
Tolerated. He just tolerated. Now I'm just gonna read the rest of this in a country accent. Tolerated.
As I said, he was mean.
Sorry.
I think he used that as a shield to keep people away from him. Milo thought God was some kind of con game thought up by some lazy sons of bitches who didn't want to work every day. So he's going into the fire on Monday without a service, just like he wanted. I'm planning to dump his ashes in the woods in PA near where he was born. Can't put them right there because there's a mall now. I gave the girl next door his raggedy old cat and most of his books.
I read this wrong. I read this as I gave the girl next door the raggedy, and I was like, that's pretty crude. My brain is actually just broken.
His computers and Tronic shit he tagged for the disabled vets in VVA. All the rest of the stuff is for the Salvation Army. All those years and everything he owned fits in the trunk of my car. I don't know what else to say. I'll miss him. Miserable bastard.
Get better soon, dear mom.
So here we have a third party stepping in, keeping in mind the name 26 for future reference, as he claimed to have a relationship to Milo, aka Religion of Peace, aka ROP. He even goes as far as to give out coordinates to where the ashes were spread of Religion of Peace, which is actually a Holiday Inn in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay.
Seeing as we know the name of Religion of Peace, Milo, I'm going to be referring to him as such from now on. As a result of Milo gaining such a reputation over the years on Reddit, when this post about his death was on the r/all section, it managed to gain some traction, which led to about 650 upvotes, which isn't a lot by today's standard. However, in 2009, when Reddit didn't have nearly as much traffic, it was a slightly big event in some regard, whether intended or not. This naturally led users on Reddit to dig a bit deeper into what or who the guy was that died for the sake of curiosity. Some speculated whether or not this was a hoax meant to drive traffic to LakeCityQuietPills.com or the image hosting website. So people began to dig, and what they found would actually blow this mystery wide open.
Oh.
To validate the claims of this 26 character, Redditors sought to make a connection, and Redditors managed to dig up an old account from a website called FARC.
FARC? What's FARC? Do any of you guys know what FARC is? Any people familiar with FARC on this chat?
And found a user by the name of Angel26. Angel26 bio read the following: dispensing Lake City Quiet Pills to lousy bastards in need of a permanent rest since 1968.
Lake City Quiet Pills. It sounds like a code word for some kind of, like, I don't know, euthanizing agent? I don't frickin' know.
And this account had dated all the way back to 2001. Angel26's comment history was similar to that of Milo's or Religion of Peace's, and dealt with detailing their favorite guns, ammunitions, and they appeared to have a history of military service as well. Notably, though, Angel26 also had an email address, angel26@lakecityquietpills.com, which was registered under his FARC account. If that wasn't enough, users also compared the writing styles of the post to Angel26, and it was pretty darn close. Angel misspelled some of the same words and used very similar incorrect apostrophes in his writing, which would be an insane amount of work to fake for an account going all the way back to 2001.
2001? There are people in this Twitch chat that weren't even born then.
So mystery hunters had their match, but what now? Well, people kept digging and digging, trying to uncover the meaning behind the Lake City Quiet Pills website name. Clearly, Angel had some connection, but what was the reason for naming the website, especially since it was used to host adult content? So why use the name LakeCityQuietPills.com?
Yeah.
It doesn't exactly scream, hey, we have porn over here. In search of some kind of meaning.
Well, based on his history, I'm pretty sure they weren't trying to broadcast, hey, we have porn over here.
Redditors were
some weird ass repository
led to the website
for
and
fucked up
decided
shit.
to dig a bit deeper. And upon looking at the source code of the website, they discovered a message board hidden in plain sight. These messages were dated and showed the true nature of what had been going on behind the scenes. And in the months to come, they would piece together a story unfolding silently in this corner of the internet. The posts on this hidden message board were predominantly job postings, but not job postings for your typical paradoxical entry-level job that requires 2 years experience. No, they appeared to be for some form of military contracting, bodyguards, or mercenary work. Funny enough, the day that Reddit user 26 posted the news of Religion of Peace dying, or Milo, an anonymous user on the message board posted the following on July 17th, 2009, hidden within the contents of LakeCityQuietPills.com. I'm sorry to tell you that old Milo died yesterday. He went quiet and calm, not like we all figured. I gave that fat mangy cat to the girl next door. No services or nothing. You know Milo. I'm taking his ashes to back where his farm was. Close to it anyways. There's a mall where his place was. So hoist a few for the old man. Remember what he said. Keep with the man who's got your back. Just calling back to what I said about the age not matching up of Religion of Peace. Here we had confirmation from a third party that was posted to seemingly no one at the time that this guy had died. So we have some form of confirmation here that appears to surpass this guy lying about his age or experience in the army. As noted earlier in the Reddit post, Angel26 was the one who provided hosting for the website. So this is clearly him posting. Alongside this post, there was also quite a few job postings that read the following.
Jeez, this is so eerie. What are these for? They're asking for
A number of
fluent
these
speakers
posts
of
obviously
certain languages.
featured a bunch of different acronyms. The most highly controversial acronym of them all was W/W, whether it meant wet work or want/warrants. Essentially, this would mean that if it was wet work, this had to involve murder, or want/warrants, meaning that they couldn't have a wanted arrest or anything out for them in a certain country. At the time of this happening, very few people actually realized the messages were on the website, and it took a while for this mystery to kind of unfold.
I'm trying to determine what this background is. It's very tantalizing.
Really gaining a lot of initial attention. However, on September 30th, 2009, more than 2 months later after Milo died, Angel26 presumably posted, "For those that have asked, I bricked Milo's iron key the same day. All is well." If you're unfamiliar with what an iron key is,
What is
it's
an
essentially
iron
an
key?
encrypted flash drive.
Oh.
To brick a device, you're essentially making all the data on the device lost, rendering the device unusable and cleaned. This likely hints at the fact that this group of individuals on this message board was not involved in your typical military contracting or bodyguarding.
Yeah.
This hints at some shady business. On November 14th, 2009,
There was probably some really bad shit in there. Make it remain lost.
Angel26,
Blech.
or user26, posted again on the website. Milo's will cleared probate. Surprise, Milo was loaded. Email Shade if we sent you out in 2005 to 2009.
The
Shade will have
spelling
checks
is
cut for you.
terrible.
Amount is by how many times, not by pay total. Small share is 3 to 4K. This part is interesting. Milo had a will for a group of individuals, or perhaps they were just the only ones to be left to, that he had alive. And in this message stating that anyone had been sent out in 2005 to 2009 would mean that these jobs had been going on for quite a bit of time.
I don't like that.
And the fact that they're getting $3,000 to $4,000 is a decent amount of money that would match up with military contracting work. Also in this message, we see a new
Are they like hitmen or something?
referenced, Shade, who apparently has been handling payouts. Moving forward to January 2010, Angel26 returned, this time with an announcement. Happy New Year, everyone. We're having a birthday party for the old man on the 19th. Party starts at 1500. At the usual, send your RSVP to Shade. FYI, we're booking a room for 3 days for anyone coming out of the area and overnight for locals. Come hoist one for Dutch Milo. While on the
Whoever
surface,
this
it
guy
seems nice
was,
that this group of
they're clearly celebrating him as some kind of either some kind of leader figure or just a significant member of their party.
individuals would throw a party for their lost colleague. It is rumored that it was not a literal party per se, and rather something else, due to the message that was sent out the following day before the party. We got 38 rooms in the Marriott on 46. Shade has the key cards for locals. Pick up at the party. Give your travel name to the desk.
Casually
and that's it.
booking
No ID
38
needed. We're
rooms at
covering
the
bill.
Marriott, no
Keep
big
the room
deal.
service under 500, okay? The phones there are not secure. Bus from hotel leaves at 13:30. Car service vouchers for return trip. When you're ready to crash, don't DUI. If they were traveling for leisure, why would they worry about the phone lines? Why would they need a travel name? And why would a group of adults be reminded to not drive under the influence? All of this seemed to hint at something else going on here. Well, coincidentally, on January 19th at 3 p.m. local time, a very intricate assassination would take place in Dubai at the exact same time listed on the party invitation. On January 19th, 2010, Mahmoud al-Mabou, which, pardon me if I said that wrong, who was a Hamas leader involved in the organization and logistics of weapons for Hamas, was traveling alone under a fake name and with no security guards. Earlier that day, his trip had been preceded by a small network of men and women, numbering around 24 in total. These individuals had arrived in Dubai using fake names and passports of their own and began coordinating their efforts to track down al-Mabou. I will leave the security footage of this coordinated assassination to see the full extent of what went on here, but there's about 27 minutes of security footage, so to save time, I'll ultimately leave that up to you. The gist of what happened is as follows. A group of assassins tracked the Hamas leader to...
We're not gonna see a person die. Use your noggin. This is on YouTube and has 3.2 million views and has no censor. They're not gonna be showing that shit on here, bro.
Waited for him to leave to go shopping, snuck into his room and gained access somehow, and waited for the guy to come back, and lastly, took him out. Now, not only does the date line up exactly and time of this assassination to the Lake City Quiet Pills website and their party, but also, interestingly enough, some of the suspects involved in this assassination were given credit cards from Storm Lake in Iowa, which is a town over to Lake City, Iowa. And if you're wondering how Lake City, Iowa plays into this other than Lake City Quiet Pills, if you remember Angel 26's signature on FARC, it was essentially dispensing Lake City Quiet Pills to lousy bastards in need of permanent rest since 1968. And if you actually do a Google search for Lake City, Iowa Quiet Pills, what most people have agreed upon is the fact that Lake City Quiet Pills is based off the ammunition plant based in Lake City, which is one of the U.S.'s largest manufacturers for bullets. So, Quiet Pills are bullets.
Okay.
That's how the connection here is made.
Okay.
The fact that that town is won over in less than an hour away.
they're
The
bullets.
point that some of the people who were involved with this might be local to that area. A couple weeks after the event happened, what was posted onto the Lake City Quiet Pills website was the following. Here's the final for the party. Hotel rooms, 48,341. Limo, 6,080. Bus, 569. Bar bill, 18,890.
Fat Tommy and Stu are okay, too. I mean, these could very well be code terms, but I like the idea of them just having a random dude called Fat Tommy.
Food, 8,030.
Glad Fat
Answers,
Tommy made it out.
Miscellaneous tips, 850.
Thanks, Fat Tommy.
Miscellaneous expenses,
You rock,
2840.
Fat Tommy.
Medical supplies, 180. Fat Tommy and Stu are okay too. Total 94,080. You did all Dutch Milo proud. Thanks. 94,000 sounds like quite a bit for a party, but there's no way to say for certain what actually all this itemization is about. After a few weeks later, more and more people began to link up the world events, and this started to gain even more attention. So what used to be an easy read text documenting all the job postings on this website had become encrypted. Redditors trying to see what was behind this encryption and what was on the website thereafter led them to see it get encrypted.
Never trust Redditors.
Then, right after that, the website was taken down completely. Today, the only thing we have left is the Wayback Machine or the archives of the site left over.
Which is weird because thinking about how dark webby this all is, like, you would think that they would know how to get their site off the fucking Wayback Machine. It's not very hard. I mean, to be fair, I guess they would have to file a thing with the law and then they would trade. Like, okay, fair. But still, it's just... Anyway. Whatever. It'd be a lot more hassle to erase it. Not really. But that's a story for another time.
Moving on to the analysis of this entire situation, as it's very hard to bring this all together. There's so many little details, and this is one of those very bizarre internet oddities. I will say, after studying up on this incident, I don't see enough evidence at all to conclusively say that these guys were linked to any assassinations. The only evidence that links to assassination are the credit cards, which are from Storm Lake. Like
Erasing draws attention, but the site itself is already erased. If you erase it from the Wayback Machine, it doesn't do shit. So it's like the attention has already been drawn. This video has 3.2 million views, and this is just the one video, and there are probably several thousands of videos with equivalent view counts on it.
Which still isn't Lake City. It's a town over,
Thanks
even
for
though it's
the
50 minutes
sub.
away, which is hardly enough to stand on to link the two.
Thank you. 20.
The only real connection comes from the exact timing. Other than that, I would just say it's a coincidence. Likely, what I think this was a group of military contract workers. Angel 26 even says in the Reddit post that Milo got him a job after he got out of the military. So via way of Occam's razor, this would make the most sense. As to what these guys were involved in is next to impossible to say.
Has to go what these guys are involved in. I don't know. When you're the moderator of r/Jailbait, you kind of don't really have much room for guessing.
Many people
Thank you for
believe
the
this to be
hydrate.
a hoax as well, but I would disagree. The FARC account dated all the way back to 2001 that went to Angel 26. And on top of that, why would a site encrypt its message board right after being discovered, then completely nuke the site? All of that does not add up to this being a hoax. And the weirdest thing that no one has explored, other than one little Reddit thread that I found on the Lake City Quiet Bills website that barely gained any attention, is what I want to leave you with at the end of this video.
I like the idea that this guy just really likes Reddit and really likes showing the things that he finds on Reddit.
Okay, so this is pretty ominous. If you actually look up Religion of Peace's Reddit username on a website called Snoop Snoo, which allows you to gain more information about Redditors, it shows that his last post was actually made in 2019. Okay, so
He was never gilded. Cringe. I'm on the 100 Awards Club, which means that my posts had 100 awards within a 1-month period. Oh, yeah.
If I look at his post history, he has no posts at all, which is very bizarre because this guy's dead. Okay, so this leaves us with two possibilities. Someone either made a post under a private subreddit, which would be the reason for the post not being shown in his profile, or Snoop Snoo is glitching out. This also happens with user 26 as well, meaning he's posted in 2019 as well. So these guys might still be around.
Oh,
which is
God.
weird.
I hope they're
Either
not
way,
around
this
for
is
my
an incredibly
sake.
interesting rabbit hole, incredibly interesting mystery, and the speculation is still wide open because nothing is conclusive here. There's no shortage of speculation, but what I recommend is that you actually go through this for yourself if you're still interested.
I think this was a comprehensive enough review, and I don't want to touch stuff about those guys with a 10-foot pole. Let's check out what the next video is. Let's see. Ooh, spontaneous combustion. I know all about that. Want to bust some spontaneous nuts, ladies and gents? That was a rhetorical question. We're going to watch it anyway. Oh! I feel like this is one of the ones that I saw on the forum. Everything so far has been stuff that's either submitted on the forum or was on the thread on my Discord. So nothing has been solely alley pictures yet. Spontaneous human combustion of Mary Reeser, BuzzFeed Unsolved Network. Oh, finally a BuzzFeed Unsolved video. I was wondering when it would happen. Whoa!
This week on BuzzFeed Unsolved, we discussed the incendiary and baffling death of Mary Reeser, who media later...
You want to watch Christian? I feel like if you want to watch about Christian, you're going to have to watch all the several hours of documentary. And at this point, I'm Christianed out. I am Christianed out. One of my friends met Christian at a gaming convention once and described it as a very surreal experience and said that Christian smelled very strange. It was very strange.
Label.
It solved aliens! Aliens! What happened? We just got evidence for aliens. That's what happened. It was all aliens. That's gonna be my new channel pivot, is just aliens. Oh yeah, baby. Okay, let's see. We got another video. We got another Barely Sociable video. Apparently one of you really likes Barely Sociable, which, you know what? Fair enough. This one is called A Mysterious Phone Number from the 90s. Am I a big Ancient Aliens fan? I have to admit something. I have never seen a single episode of Ancient Aliens. It was always the show that I would be annoyed was on because I love the History Channel, but I really wanted to watch American Pickers or freaking Pawn Stars or any of the other any of the actual history documentaries. fun. It's nice because it's like history and money. Storage Wars was pretty based. Storage Wars is fun. You like watching History Channel for anything but history? I like the history too. It's just when there's history and money, it's extra entertaining.
When it comes to looking into topics or mysteries on the internet, I really enjoy topics that are more obscure. It's refreshing to look into things that aren't covered to death, and it allows me to bring attention to something likely close to being solved. The number we're going to be looking in today isn't something I would generally look into or even consider as an internet mystery.
Ooh.
It might be arguable that this isn't even an internet mystery whatsoever. This number and all of the strange things surrounding it, in essence, is a real-life incident that has only been kept alive by the internet.
Well,
What
good.
we're
That's
gonna
the
be
type of shit we like to
exploring
explore.
is 20-some-odd years of first-hand accounts to try and figure out what happened with what may be the most mysterious phone number that existed in the 90s.
Ooh. I like that this is a more calm approach, because, I mean, I know that, like, BuzzFeed Unsolved videos are edited to add a bit of spectacle, but the music and soundscaping on them really does get me, like, jittery a little bit. But this is, like, calm. It's like, oh yeah, here's this atrocious thing that happened. Listen to some Mozart.
To clarify before we go forward, this number is a telephone number, or a 1-800 number, and I'm going to name it momentarily, but I highly advise against calling this number, as not only is it not home to the same owner as it was in the 90s, but is also home to an erotic hotline.
Oh!
We're going to get into how...
Oh no! Why would I ever want to call that? Oh God, imagine doing sex with your voice? Who the hell would do that and make a career out of it? That's disgusting. That's disgusting. We need to figure out what this number is so we can just absolutely exterminate it from all historical records on this planet.
how this number changed ownership here in a bit. But for
Terrible.
now, you just need to have a fair warning if you choose to call this number during this video.
Ugh.
With that disclaimer out of the way, let's get to the number. It's 1-800-GOLF-TIP. While that might seem incredibly random, just know that things are about to get a hell of a lot weirder.
Oh.
For further background, we're going to dive into the rumors regarding this number,
Tip.
as it appears countless times in Google searches, and as you'll soon learn, people are just as confused as to what happened to this phone number as we are. At first, I thought this was some prank number that was meant to make you call an erotic hotline, but after messing with all the possible combinations, none of them were even remotely funny enough to make a joke out of. I'm going to leave all of the numbers here on screen and their positions, and maybe you can come up with a combination that will make sense to this entire situation. This mysterious phone number has no discernible understanding, and there's even a website dedicated to submitting your memory to try and figure this thing out. This website is entitled 1-800-GOLF-TIP.
Do any of you guys have memories of this number? Were any of you in the 90s and getting... Nope. Okay.
.com. The homepage reads the following.
You do not?
Hold the
Okay.
phone. Remember the 90s. Remember high school. Remember calling 1-800-GOLF-TIP. If you don't, you're a fraud.
If you
do,
do, what the fuck was that?
We're here to find out. Please join us as we try to solve this mystery from the past.
Ooh.
Since I've read through just about every single first-hand account there is about this telephone number, I want to give you a common consensus of what I've found. Essentially, what would occur after calling this number is that a pre-recorded line would play, with a man counting to 10 over and over again, with notable pauses being made on certain numbers. Something that varies here with a lot of the first-hand accounts that are on the internet is that
that's
some people
creepy.
remember a pause around a 6, 7, or 8. The man speaking on the telephone is widely regarded to have an Indian or Middle Eastern accent. A few people also noted that if you left the phone on long enough, a loud scream or a synthetic siren would play to shock listeners
that's
and an audible
creepy.
jump scare. By all accounts, the origin of this number is almost certainly Canada, and in a couple of tests,
Ew, why is it Canada? I don't like that. I don't like that.
testimonials, people mentioned a billboard to be the original origin. We're going to touch more on the billboard later, but something I want to point out is that if you Google the numbers associated with this, the only one that comes up transcribed is 1-800-GOLF-TIP. This shows us that this rumor came from some form of source material.
Streamer
and not from people
hates
dialing
Canada. Confirmed. Definitely isn't a resident of this fucking
randomly.
country.
If people were dialing numbers randomly, then they would have come up with different variations like 1-800-GOLF-VIP and so on. This leads me to believe that there was clearly something going on with this number back in the 90s, that this many people would have the exact same memory. I submitted a question to the contact page of the website I mentioned earlier in hopes of getting a first-hand account, but I haven't heard anything back from the site's
His name is Barely Sociable, so his initials are BS. That's funny.
owner. But
That's
maybe
really
they will in
funny.
the future. Going forward with this search, I decided to look for references to this telephone number anywhere else on the internet in hopes of gathering new information. Unfortunately, though, I was pretty much empty-handed until I came across one Reddit thread from someone who lived in St.
Of
Catharines.
course he defers to Reddit. We know you like Reddit, Mr. Barely Sociable. That's the thing, though, is like when, unironically, if you want to find something on the internet, and if you ever want to just research something on the internet, the best way to get a human answer nowadays is just adding Reddit right at the very end of your inquiry. Like, is he cheating on me? Reddit. What should I do if my dog is blah blah blah? Reddit. Just add it to the right at the end, and there'll probably be like a hyper-specific thread from like 3 years ago answering your question.
Ontario, and had seen the billboard go up at the time. This Reddit thread that I found comes from a user named Oh I Get Jokes, and about 10 months ago, he was in the exact same situation as us today. While most of the info in this thread is stuff we've already talked about, this Reddit thread does have quite a bit of new information that I want to go over. In his Reddit thread, he outlines his experience with calling the number after seeing the billboard in his town. He states that he used to practice imitating the individual man on the other end of the call after calling the number so much as a kid. The most notable contribution that allows us to confirm that this number exists in the 90s comes from a user in the thread named Cunning Lindy, who found an archived school newspaper from
Cunning Lindy?
Carleton University, Ottawa, dating all the way back to 1993. Here on this archive, it lists this phone number as a thing that was talked about by students on a list of things that they, quote, liked. In this thread, Oh I Get Jokes even goes as far as to provide an individual sound file for anyone looking into the topic. Let's take a listen to his impersonation.
Okay, here is my imitation of the 1-800-GOLF tip.
Hi, this is Reddit user 6999 requesting verification for r/conmile.
Recording, keeping in mind it's been a couple decades. But the voice went something like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, etc., etc.
The pauses are
Where
getting
that
me.
pause was, I mean, I remember the breath after the 7. Other people remember it somewhere else. But I do know that the loop was seamless. I'm almost positive of that.
In a further update to this thread, Oh I Get Jokes also mentioned what the billboard looked like. Here's what he had to say. This was 20 years ago, but to the best of my recollection, full color with a close-up of a golf ball, a club angled away from the camera, green grass, and some blue in the upper left. 1-800-GOLF tip was in a big yellow 3D lettering.
What if it was just a really comprehensive prank?
And he told me the town it was spotted in was St. Catharines, Ontario. This means that by 1993, this individual number had spread by word of mouth over 600 kilometers. In another 4chan thread from 2017, we learned that the billboard was across from an old bijou theater, and after reaching out to
Be me. Be back in the 90s. See billboard across the old Bijou Theater.
Oh I Get Jokes and asking him about the location, he mentioned that the theater had a bijou arcade on the first floor and a theater on the second floor. Since then, this theater has been torn down and replaced with a Tim Hortons. I even managed to get a picture of what this billboard looks like today. Something to note here is that this billboard is rather small, meaning it wouldn't have been too incredibly expensive in this town. By the way, I've linked Oh I Get Jokes down below as well as his thread, as I'm incredibly appreciative of posters who take time to get back to me.
Wait, hold on.
A picture of what this billboard looks like today. Something to note here is that this billboard is rather small, meaning it wouldn't have been too incredibly expensive.
Where's the Tim Hortons?
In this town.
I didn't see the Tim Hortons.
I've linked Oh I Get Jokes down below as well as his thread, as I'm incredibly appreciative.
Enhance? Where's the Tim Hortons? I don't see a Tim Hortons. Where? Behind where? Why am I getting sidetracked trying to find Tim Hortons in this one?
Is that this billboard is rather small, meaning it wouldn't have been
I don't see it.
too incredibly expensive in this town.
Anyway.
By the way, I've linked Oh I Get Jokes down below as well as his thread, as I'm incredibly appreciative here.
Where's the Tim Hortons? I don't see it.
That this billboard is rather small, meaning it wouldn't have been too incredibly expensive in this town.
Whatever.
By the way, I've linked Oh I Get
You didn't
Jokes
see
down
shit.
below, as well as his thread, as I'm incredibly appreciative of posters who take time to get back to me within 15 minutes and provide additional info almost a year later after making their post. That being said, as much as I trust very friendly Canadians, I still wanted to look a bit further into this and
I don't
decided
trust
that I'd
friendly
look into the
Canadians.
number itself. This dropped me into an entirely separate rabbit hole. By looking into who owns 1-800-GOLF-TIP today, I managed to find the company by the name of Mayfair Communications. The date listed for this number being updated into the 1-800 database is January 20th, 1998. What's interesting here is that this was updated 5 years after it's referenced in the student magazine. Since we have this discrepancy here, I wanted to look into Mayfair Communications as a company to try and figure out what happened to this number. After Googling Mayfair Communications, I found that quite a few businesses came up. We can cross-reference the number we're given on the 1-800 directory, and it gives us this company called Mayfair Communications in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. In my opinion, this company seems sketchy. Something to note about Mayfair Communications is when you Google them, a large number of scam reports seems to be associated with this company. Mayfair Communications
Might have just been a really
Incorporated
weirdly
doesn't
comprehensive scheme.
even appear to have its own website, which is incredibly suspicious.
Not much
I'm not
of a
even entirely
mystery.
sure if Mayfair Communications is still even in business.
I
After
guess
doing
it's
a bit
just
of
a
digging, I
scam.
believe this company was taken over by another company called PrimeTel Communications. What's interesting
I don't
is
want
that
to know about Mayfair. I want to know about I want to know more about the erotic phone service that has since supplanted this phone hotline for reasons of wanting to make sure that nobody goes on there, obviously.
that PrimeTel was also located in Philadelphia, and they own some of the same numbers. My best guess is that PrimeTel took over the number and never updated the 1-800 record. What's interesting is when you search Mayfair Communications on Google, PrimeTel even comes up on the first page despite never directly referencing them. After looking into what PrimeTel Communications does as a company, it's crystal clear as to what happened to 1-800-GOLF-TIP. This company is notorious for hoarding millions of phone numbers and buying them as soon as they expire. This company is well known for redirecting any number it buys to an erotic chat line. This leads me to believe that Mayfair Communications scooped up this individual phone number in 1998 and then was taken over by PrimeTel, if they're not one and the same.
The world is run by porn! Thanks for the gifts, that was not Carrie. Thank you.
The reason that I believe it's important to understand what happened to Mayfair is that it allows us to rule out that this was ever a joke phone number meant to call an erotic hotline. By referencing that student newspaper, we learned that 1-800-GOLF-TIP did have a previous owner, as it was referenced there. Now the big question still remains though, what is the purpose of 1-800-GOLF-TIP? Why would someone go through all of this trouble just to set up a phone number and perhaps a billboard and get people to call it? I'm going to throw forward 3 theories as to what happened.
Yeah, I wanna hear
one of
theories.
which I favor immensely.
Uh-huh.
Keep in mind, since there's no original
My theory is that it's kind of like those ads that you'll click on like really dodgy websites where it just redirects you to like some random girl on like bleeper bait, you know, bleeper bait. Just, you know, those like or those ads on Orange Tube where it'll be like local MILFs in your area want a shaboing boing. Same general vein of strange companies responsible for that kind of content.
recording and all we have are first-hand accounts, it's hard to say anything definite. The first theory that seems to be passed around a lot around this phone number is that this was some kind of social experiment or hoax. But one thing that doesn't line up here is that if this was a hoax just to mess with people, why sink money into it for no payoff potentially? There definitely could have been cheaper ways to get this phone number
Because sometimes people have enough money to just fuck around. The bit. Just because it's funny.
started. Since you couldn't leave messages for this individual phone line, it's hard to see why someone would get satisfaction out of trolling this way. The only other way to hear about what you had done and set up a billboard and created a graphic for would be from word of mouth, and while this seems possible, let's look into other theories. The second theory is that the person who paid for this billboard passed away or something happened to them after setting it up. They could have used this counting to 10 recording as a placeholder, but that doesn't seem to
They
explain
passed away
the
after
scream
listening
that
to
was
the
heard at
lady's
end,
voice
or
on the
siren.
erotic
The only way
hotline
to know for
because it was
sure
just
is
too
to
much
see
for
who
them
paid
to
for the billboard
handle.
and see if
Makes
there's an obituary
sense.
for them. But good luck finding who paid
And in
for
the
it.
honor of
last
the person
theory
that
is the one
died, they
that
just
I would
bought
like to
out
entertain
the phone
most, as it
hotline and
requires
made
the
sure
least
that everybody who
assumptions
calls
and
it
provides
just
the
gets redirected to her
so that they too can understand why he passed away.
Motive.
Mhm.
I personally believe, after looking into this whole situation, assuming all of the rumors were true, that this was some kind of marketing lead generation tactic. And if you don't know what that means, it was likely a way to collect phone numbers for telemarketing purposes.
Well, yeah.
Caller ID was definitely
sense.
around at this time, and it could have been a ploy to get people
Makes
to intentionally
sense.
call in with a cryptic phone number. That way,
Whenever I hear about caller ID being a thing, I just think about Mean Girls when Regina George is calling that one girl who's dating like her best friend's boyfriend and is like, "Hi, this is Susan from Planned Parenthood. Can I speak to blah blah blah? It's urgent." Like, caller ID sounds like a diabolical thing that was absolutely exploited by bullies back in the day. Not that I would really know much about it. A sexy hotline serial killer? Wait, hold the phone. You accidentally made cinema. I'm going to write that down. That's a
they
great
could collect
idea.
active, fresh
That's
phone
a great
numbers to be
roleplay
sold to
idea.
later on. This makes sense in my
Sexy
opinion, as
hotline
telemarketing
serial
was much
killer.
more lucrative in the 90s and was gaining traction. Cold calling would have been much more effective, and today we kind of get robocalled every 2 seconds, but people in the 90s were not used to that. At this time, there wasn't even a do not call list until 2004, so it would make sense that this was some kind of tactic.
we go.
They paid for a relatively small billboard
Written
and could have
down.
gotten thousands of phone numbers over its existence. People clearly passed this thing around like crazy, so this would have been a gold mine. This theory provides a motive for paying for the billboard and
That's
shows how
actually
they could have
really
made their money
smart.
back later on. They could have even directly
even
sold
be
these
mad
phone
at
numbers
scams
to
when
other
they're
companies
smart
in the area.
about it.
But as far as this
That's a
mystery
terrible
goes, this
mindset
is my
to
best
have.
guess. Keep in mind,
Never
this
never
is somewhat
vindicate
logical,
scammers.
but it's still complete conjecture as it's based on
I'm
first-hand
just
accounts that we can't
joking.
even technically prove to this day. In conclusion, I want to point out that what I'm providing is based off of first-hand accounts, and unless someone comes forward or new evidence comes out, it's really hard to say anything for certain.
That's fair enough. I want to go to that video. This is the one of the videos tonight that I will just look up myself. But there's this one video that I saw about the what were they called again? The Breatharians. I want to Is it here? Can't find it. I can't find it. I just want to watch a bit of it. I'll watch a bit of this one. I don't want to take up too much time watching it, but I want to see what it's about. Just a little schemer. I think I found it. Okay.
This project is way more important than a single person. I'd say more important even than the human race.
In the spring of 2013, a channel titled Living on Light appeared on YouTube. Throughout its 3-month-long
Just a
window of
little.
activity, a Seattle woman who went by the name Navina Shine
Of course she's from Seattle. That's all you had to say.
regularly uploaded video diaries detailing the progress of an experiment she was conducting on herself.
My name is Navina Shine. I am both the founder of Living on Light, and I'm the subject in the first of our experiments.
This is what happens when you let people live in the Pacific Northwest for too long. They start thinking they're sunflowers, and they endeavor to become sunflowers in a variety of ways. They either consume copious amounts of marijuana, or they become like this lady, a breatharian. They nourish themselves on air and light rather than food.
Navina's goal was simple. She wished to prove that a human being could survive without eating.
So in this
We got no audio because I paused it.
Living on Light experiment, we want to demonstrate that it's possible for a human being to thrive without the need to ingest food into the physical body.
Instead, Navina would attempt to transition her body to use light as its only source of nutrition, a potential she believed everyone possessed if they could only find a way to unlock it. If Navina could prove such a lifestyle was possible, she predicted that people the world over would begin to adopt it, ushering in a foodless utopia with an end to hunger and a return to
A foodless utopia with an end to hunger and return to symbiosis with the natural world. Okay, here's I keep pausing, but it's just so ridiculous to me. I just have to keep offering my ridiculous insight. But fucking, you know how people say, like, the older you get, the less of a fuck you give? I genuinely think this isn't just her, like, being old and finding a way to, like, you know, entertain herself in retirement. I feel like she's always been secretly a breatharian. And now that the internet is willing to enable her silly delusion, like, she's just taking it all in full stride. This looks like a lifelong breatharian to me.
Symbiosis with the natural world.
If it's actually true that humans do not have to eat food, it'll change everything we know about ourselves and our planet. It will change the consciousness of humanity, and it will change everything we do in our world.
Wait, hold on. I thought you were from Seattle. Why are you talking like Mary Poppins? I don't understand. None of this makes sense.
Navina's beliefs about the human body were nothing new. By her own admission, living on light was largely based on the similar claims throughout the decades of people absorbing nourishment through air and light, with methods such as pranic breathing and sun gazing cited as replacements for eating and drinking, named after the claim that they need only breathe in the nutrients needed to survive.
Hey, babe. We're not going to a steakhouse tonight. I'm sorry, I lied. We're just gonna be pranic breathing and bathing in the sunlight while we absorb each other's auras.
They call themselves the Breatharians.
I don't take any solid foods. I'm a breatharian. I have been for 19 years.
Oh my god. Oh my god, this is its own rabbit hole. Fuck. Fuck. Y'all ever watch, Strange Aeons? I like their videos. They made one, I think I might have shown one on stream. They visited, a furry con. Yeah.
And we can treat our planet entirely differently. We can treat our lives entirely differently when we know that we don't have to eat.
Navina was no doubt familiar with the controversial history of Breatharianism and the several so-called Breatharian gurus who had experienced brief celebrity within the fringes of the modern New Age movement, later to have been exposed as lying about their lifestyle.
Cult shocked by charges of leaders' secret snacking. I thought they were a breatharian, but I caught them at 2 a.m. with a Hot Pocket half down their gullet hole.
Notable examples include Hira
Imagine
Batanek, an Indian
snacking in this
spiritualist who
economy.
claimed to have not eaten for over a decade, instead staring into the sun as a method of maintaining vital functions, who was photographed at a restaurant in 2011. But Navina was undeterred by such reputational
Just taking photos of themselves. They're just like gnawing the shit out of some like pizza or something. Somebody just takes a photo of them and is like, ha, I'll expose you for your crime.
blemishes.
God.
For her, living on light was an answer to a higher calling.
I see myself as being called to create this experiment and bring this vastly important information out into the world.
Many interpreted Navina's cheerful, sincere disposition as impressionable to the point of being delusional.
Hey, that's me. That's me. Right there. That's me. That's me.
Her experiment was met with overwhelming discouragement, with the comment sections filled with reminders of the obvious dangers of such an undertaking. But where most viewers of Living on Light saw a woman ensnared in esoteric mysticism, Navina saw herself as on the cusp of groundbreaking enlightenment.
I'm sorry I keep pausing. It's just such a funny video. I'm here being like, oh my god, my content is helping people. But what if the real allure of my content is like people gathering around me trying to help me? It's just affirming my theory that I'm not really a VTuber. This is just a controlled social experiment where my audience has essentially become the nurses of the nursing home that I currently reside in.
Referring to Breatharianism as the greatest discovery the human race has ever made. So on May 3rd of 2013, 65-year-old Navina Shine ate what she believed might be her last meal and began her process of living on light.
Oh my god.
All the people who do this, who say they do this, and there's thousands of them who
do they
say
not
this.
drink food or water?
I can't think that all of them are lying. I mean, I can't think that.
Specifically, how long did you go without eating? For me, on and off, well, pretty well just on water and tea for 2 years.
The name of Navina Shine's experiment was likely taken from a self-advertised spiritual guru who came to prominence in the late 1990s. An Australian woman named Ellen Grieve, more commonly known as Jasmuheen, published a book titled
Jasmuheen. Jasmuheen, and it's just Karen from Whole Foods. Like, I cannot. I can't. And the way that she's her hands, I'm Jasmuheen. The thing that I'm calling bullshit about is that if they're not drinking water, if they're not going to be eating any food, they ought to look like shit. They ought to look like shit, but they look fine. They just look like relatively like on the skinnier side of normal.
Living on Light, which detailed a 21-day process of
It's a liquid diet, it's a cleanse, blah.
Transitioning into a lifestyle which no longer required food. Instead, Jasmuheen claimed nourishment would be provided by prana, a Sanskrit word meaning breath or life force.
Where are they getting their sustenance from if they're not getting it from food?
Ki, the chi, the universal life force, or what we call prana, or if you're a religious person, you would say you are fed by the light of God, and obviously that's very hard to measure.
Don't listen to this woman.
Stated to have acclimated to this lifestyle years ago, but still ate occasionally when the urge to experience a particular taste arose.
I've been free from the need to take any nourishment from food now for 11 years. That doesn't mean that I've had 11 years of taking nothing, but in that time, yeah, I've had a piece of chocolate or cappuccino.
Arrest this fraud. Right now. Arrest her right now. She had a piece of chocolate. She's not Jasmuheen. She's Jasmu... Jasmu liar. Jasmu scheme. Jasmu fiend. Jasmu fiend? Is that what you just Jasmu. Let's just move on.
Completely non-nourishing substance because the path is about freedom.
Despite failing to rise to mainstream popularity during the quasi-mysticism trend of the 90s,
Thank God.
a space occupied by New Age juggernauts like Deepak Chopra, she secured a loyal following reportedly numbering in the thousands. Her critics saw her as a dangerous charlatan whose teachings, if sincerely followed, would lead to inevitable tragedies.
Well, no shit.
But her followers saw her as a vessel of ancient forgotten knowledge, tasked with the duty of bringing about a shift in human consciousness in time for the new millennium.
We are going through a huge shift in consciousness. It's obvious on the physical plane and it's obvious within the physical bodies.
This is just a call. This is literally just a call.
We could end hunger for good, Jasmuheen stated, if only we could reconnect to the alternate channels that offer freedom from physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual hungers.
Imagine she starts an ASMR channel and she's just like, food haul, join me as I clear my fridge for the rest of my life. And she's just tapping on the containers and just like, and now we throw it away. Throw it away. There's some ASMR channels which I like listening to their stuff, but sometimes like they do tend to look like her. So I wouldn't be surprised if they were like particularly. The thing is, like, I think nowadays like the worst thing that your like middle-aged parent and or brother or sister can really get into is like maybe falling for an MLM scheme. I feel like MLM schemes are kind of just, like, they're harmful as hell, but they're not fucking Breatharianism, you know? Yeah. There's a lot of overlap. I think there's, like, a psychological need that is being filled by either one of those that is very similar, and I'm just trying to discern what that might be. Maybe purpose? A feeling of belonging is the reason why people join things like this. Still deciding.
The first week of
Maybe.
Jasmuheen's 21-day
No
living
Herbalife,
on light
please. Oh my
regimen,
God.
as detailed in her book, involved consuming nothing at all, solid or liquid. According to the blogs of people who have attempted this protocol, extreme fatigue, kidney pain, and the sensation of their mouths feeling glued shut were common
Jesus.
complaints within a few days of this initial phase.
Oh my God.
But the book's assurance that this was merely the old spirit leaving the body, that these were signs of breaking through, kept them motivated to continue.
So dumb.
The following 2 weeks allowed for the reintroduction of small amounts of water and diluted juice, but no food. It was recommended instead to channel pranic nourishment through meditation.
Pranic
It's simply
nourishment.
saying, as the energy flows through you, feed me. It's that simple.
At the end of this 21-day initiation, individuals were promised a new body, recalibrated to feed from the universe's pranic cache.
This is just systematic dying.
In addition to her books and website, Jasmuheen would hold worldwide retreats, charging $1,500 for admittance. A small price, she argued, in exchange for no longer requiring caloric intake.
All my vitamins,
There we go.
everything that I need to maintain
The thing
a
is,
fully
I bet that if they tracked this lady down, they would have caught her at the fucking Whole Foods with like a whole avocado in her mouth. She seems like the kind of person that just doesn't buy food. Maybe she just like goes to your local the local grocery store and just like stuffs it right down her mouth and then just walks out with like a whole ass fucking thing of fruit in her mouth. She seems like that kind of crazy. If we watch this all the way through, I think we'll figure out that she's a fraud. I mean, I can figure that out right now with Google. Let's look it up. Jasmuheen. Oh, she's still alive! She's still alive and she's Australian. She's still alive and she's Australian. 5 deaths attached to her shit. 5 deaths related to fasting. She's a murderer. She's killed 5 people. She has a website and it's still up. And there are languages. It comes in Chinese, German, Spanish, French, Japanese, Portuguese, Romanian, with more to come. And she has a YouTube channel and nobody's doing anything about it. The thing is, with what they're describing, you know that she's a scammer. Because if she really was practicing what she preached, she would be looking like practically
healthy,
emaciated by
vital, strong,
now.
regenerative
But she looks
body,
like
vital
a
body,
skinny old
using
woman.
body, if you want that too, can come from prana. That this can be maintained.
But
from
she doesn't
the
look like
force
skin
within.
and bones.
The first of Jasmuheen's
Or she'd just be
followers
dead.
to
Like
die
this,
from
she would not be looking like this. That's like a normal person body to have. But she wouldn't be looking like that if she was only eating water.
Reports suggested Timo Deegan,
Taking
a
water, I mean.
31-year-old German kindergarten teacher, had discovered her website, fell into a colorful rabbit hole of promised enlightenment, and slipped into a coma after
Dude, look at... What is this? This graphic design is my passion. Graphic design is my passion.
the 21-day protocol. The second fatality was Australian Lonnie Morris. Under the tutelage of a Breatharian couple who were later found guilty of manslaughter, Lonnie Morris began to experience speech loss, paralysis, and eventual death after little more than a week into Jasmuheen's living on light process. The black liquid she began vomiting
Black
days into the
liquid?
initiation, the Breatharian couple assured her was a spiritual
Black
pollutant
liquid?
that needed to be expelled. Jasmuheen denied culpability. Perhaps they were not coming from a place of integrity and did not have the right motivation, she told the Sunday Times. But it was after the death of her third follower, a 49-year-old woman named Verity Lynn, that the Australian media began to push Jasmuheen to renounce living online.
The fact that she's still doing this shit and isn't in jail is insane to me. It is insane.
There is a woman who is dead.
There's
in
so many people that
Scotland
deserve
as a
to be in jail that are
consequence
just
of
not.
following your principles.
Along with a copy of Jasmine.
Like, I think that's the theme that we're noticing is that a lot of people or a lot of the people that are being put in jail right now are just like not the people that should be in jail, and it's these big old freaking tycoons with their like heaps of money selling people like bullshit or just roaming scot-free.
Heen's book, authorities found Verity Lynn's diary. The last entry indicated Lynn didn't make it past the first week before collapsing of dehydration. She was discovered lying in a secluded moorland in northern Scotland by a passing fisherman.
Oh my god,
Jasmine
nobody should die like
pointed
that.
out that in her book and on her website were disclaimers of personal accountability.
This is the legal loophole. This is the legal loophole that she has. Disclaimers of personal accountability. The following 21-day process is for individuals who have a deep knowing it is for them. Oh my god. There
including
you
a
go.
checklist where aspirants were meant to self-assess their own eligibility based on physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual fitness. Those who didn't meet such criteria as feeling the presence of the Divine One within were discouraged from embarking on living on light.
And I effectively promote in that book absolute self-responsibility, use of personal discernment and self-mastery. Richard,
Give responsibility to people who are silly enough to starve themselves.
none of the people who are involved in this see it like that.
In an effort to quash Jasmine Heen's growing movement, the television program 60 Minutes issued her an opportunity to prove the legitimacy of her lifestyle.
Which she just failed, I'd
broadcast
imagine.
to Australian viewers nationwide.
Fucking hell.
Jasmine Heen agreed to a 7-day demonstration in which she would take in no food or water, monitored by 24-hour surveillance, claiming it would be nothing more than a holiday.
If you wouldn't watch me die, I'd come out smiling and laughing of your holiday.
And the controversial broadcast that followed would become a moment in Breatharian history,
Okay.
referenced by both critics and advocates for decades to come.
She's about to get fucked, yeah. No, she's about to go loopy.
Don't you think you should leave it to the audience to decide and the people who've bothered to do in-depth research into what I'm actually saying to decide?
What 60 Minutes was proposing was a dangerous experiment.
The
but
issue is
nothing
that
beyond
you're
what
out here impressing this bullshit on impressionable people.
Jasmine Heen advocated
and preaching
inside
for
the
shit
pages
that's
of Living
just
on Light.
total
But unlike
nonsense.
those who had died attempting it, Jasmine Heen's progress would be attended by a physician who regularly monitored her vitals.
I want to step on all of her avocados at the Whole Foods. I don't know. I agree. She has a very punchable face.
Throughout the week. As they met Jasmine Heen in her home to escort her to the hotel where the experiment was to take place, she was asked about her refrigerator stocked with food. She claimed most of it belonged to her partner, the carton of creamer she kept for tea in case they were guests. The
Liar.
experiment itself was short-lived.
Liar. Why
After
would you?
day two,
Why would you
without
have a
food or
partner
water,
that doesn't
the
follow
physician
you in your
began warning
lifestyle?
Jasmine Heen of signs of dehydration and elevated blood pressure. Jasmine Heen claimed the city's air and its pollutants were preventing her from properly feeding from her pranic source, so 60 Minutes relocated her to a more rural location. Her pulse continued to elevate, a sign of severe dehydration, as well as a drop in blood pressure and weight loss of over 13 pounds. Despite her deteriorating physical state,
she just
Jasmine
kept
Heen
going.
reported being in good spirits.
It was Friday night. You started on Monday night. How much water have you had?
None.
None whatsoever.
No, I'm not allowed.
How much food?
None, I'm not allowed.
How are you feeling?
I feel really good now I'm here.
Why is she talking like that? Nah, she's going into straight up delusionsville. She's not
The day four, the
okay.
physician
She's not
estimated
okay.
Jasmine
She's
Heen
losing
was
it.
experiencing around 11% dehydration. Her pulse had doubled since the beginning of the experiment, and she was at risk for kidney failure. It was recommended that 60 Minutes bring everything to a halt, to which they agreed.
It's too dangerous to continue?
Very much so. Too dangerous to continue. 60 Minutes would be culpable if they encouraged
Wait, if I don't eat for a week, I can lose 13 pounds. Do not take this as like advice or something to replicate. Don't do that to yourself. Don't do that to yourself. First of all, you're gonna rebound like fucking crazy. Your metabolism is gonna hate you for it. It's the general idea that I just don't. It's the reason I don't generally advocate for fasting. Like, there are people that, for them, it works for them, but fucking hell, dude. Listen, the key to happiness? Eat right. Eat in good, balanced portions. Exercise and live your fucking life. please. Says the girl who eats meat and cheese for dinner. I play up the girl failure thing, but I very much I'm actually very, very neurotic with what I eat. I'm very into like meal prep and stuff, and what I would actually eat in a day is so boring, and I don't really like to document it. But I like to weigh my food. I don't do it as strictly as I used to, but I used to do a lot of macro counting and stuff. But for me, it was about making sure that I was getting enough for my workouts, and my body kind of just managed the rest. Like, it's very boring, but I like it. I think it's better than people starving themselves and realizing that they're really tired and don't have energy for activities. And it works for me. And I'm very happy for it. Yeah. Yes.
To continue.
The decision
Tips? I don't know. Like, there are very inexpensive ways to do it. I mean, and like for my first few years of college, I would really just buy like a lot of chicken in bulk and then freeze it, and then I would rely a lot on like a bunch of like frozen vegetables and stuff. They're like very good alternatives for protein too, depending on if it's expensive in your area. There are like definitely ways to do this like healthily without like having to spend too much money. But the point of this is, don't starve yourself, please. It is something I take very seriously, and it was the last thing that I want people to take away from this stream, that they should starve themselves in a week to like lose 13 pounds. It's stupid. It's actual stupidness.
The demonstration was a divisive one. Many saw it as a clear debunking of living on light. If a veteran breatharian such as Jazz Muheen couldn't withstand week 1, how could anyone be expected to survive it? Jazz Muheen was maligned in the press. She was even awarded the Ig Nobel Prize, a parody of the Nobel Prize meant to satirize unscientific research. Other recipients include Scientology founder L. Ron
There you
Hubbard
go. There you go. There you
fellow
go.
New Age guru Deepak Chopra for his liberal interpretation of quantum physics.
There he
But
is.
followers of Jazz Muheen's brand of breatharianism argued that by ending the experiment early, 60 minutes had disproved nothing. The dehydration, the quickened heart rate they claimed were normal and expected aspects of her 21-day process. I see no reason why Jazz Muheen should not have passed the
She
test.
was about to die,
wrote
bro.
filmmaker and breatharian advocate P.A. Straubinger.
He's so
But it was
hydrated.
stopped by the 60 Minutes team who wanted to prove their story. Jazz Muheen's momentum in the fringe spiritual movement was slowed but not halted. Her presence persisted well into the ensuing decades, cited by many contemporary breatharians such as Navina Shine as being the authority on this way of life.
A very exciting thing happened for me yesterday. I managed to catch Jazz Muheen before she went off on her tour. Jazz Muheen lives in Australia, and she's
No.
kind of the...
The thing is, she seems like such a sweet lady. She's the kind of person who would fall for scammers on the internet. She's the kind of person where if a Nigerian prince emailed her and asked for all her money in her savings account, she would just send it. That's what she see. You can see the look on her face that she genuinely believes what she's preaching. She is an affected
guru, the authority on living on light. Breatharianism, she's been a breatharian for many years now, and so, you know, she lives breatharianism.
Although Jazz Muheen knew the results of such experiments when taken too far, she had Skyped with Navina to offer her encouragement, even promoting Navina's YouTube channel from her own Facebook page.
R.I.P. Skype.
But despite the clear influence, Navina Shine's version of living on light was her own, one which thankfully did not require her to abstain from drinking water. In fact, by the end of the 3rd week of her experiment, the amount of water Navina was consuming was making her ill.
I've been having a bit of difficulty with drinking water. I just drink water and tea now. I let go of the coffee after a few days because it was upsetting my stomach. But the water seems to have been doing that. I realized that one of the things
At least they
that was
drink
going
water.
on, I think I might have been drinking too much water because I just kept drinking water.
The thing is, I guess what breatharianism really is they're just trying to become sunflowers. Which leads us back to Plants vs. Zombies, which leads us back to, yes, I do want to play that on stream at some point. Yippee! What color is this woman's piss? It's just straight up water. At this point, the water just cycles through her. Just what goes around comes around. Thank you for the hydrate. Wow. Okay. I feel like a lot of this documentary is just gonna be us getting really mad at Jasmine. So I'm gonna try and get to the other submissions that we have. But this was like, holy crap, this took a bit because we're only 14 minutes in and I just kept having shit to say. I'm so sorry. What's this one? I'll have chat decide the next one. We've got, let's see. We've got guy who murdered his entire family. That's one. Number 2 is the stupidest sporting event of all time. That's number 2. Number 3 is Neurocam. I'll do a poll. Let's do a poll. Which one do we do next? Let's see. Neurocam. Guy. What did I say was it? A guy who murdered his family. His fam. Oh, that was my stomach grumbling. Oopsie. I promise I'm not a breatharian. Guy who murdered his fam. The number 2 is, what was it? Oh yeah, dumbest sporting event ever. Yeah, I'm not trying to turn into a sunflower. I promise I'm not a hypocrite. Ooh. Just go vote in the stupid poll, okay? Go vote in the stupid poll. Stop making fun of me. Where's my music? Here we go. Ooh. Whoa. What the fuck is this music? I don't like this. I didn't like that. That was weird. Okay, let's see. Ooh, people want the dumbest dumbest sporting event. Okay. I think this was my submission and I was worried it didn't fit the assignment. What do you mean? The title literally says rat poison. It literally says rat poison. Did top 20 disgusting things found in food make the cut? It did. I have it here. The thing is, okay, listen. I got over... For this one, considering I only had it during one stream, I ended up having submissions from 50 individual people. So the list is very long. So if anything, we might have to do this again to get to the rest of everybody's submissions, because there was actually a lot. Like, nobody sent, like, weird shit this time. Everything was really good. And no dick pics. There were no dick pics. Nobody submitted dick pics. Yet. Anyway, let's watch this video. Let's ignore that and hopefully keep up the streak of not getting dick pics and submissions where they're not welcome.
Ended here, in Athens' Panathenaic Stadium, an architectural wonder built entirely of marble nearly 2,000 years ago. The second Olympic marathon began in the Bois de Boulogne and wound through the streets of Paris, the City of Light. And the third Olympic marathon happened here, right outside this cheesecake factory. A Dillard's, a Five Guys.
Holding an Olympic sporting event outside of a cheesecake factory just seems like such a cruel joke. That seems so cruel.
And a Nordstrom hold watch over this marathon's path. Its route is drenched in the shadow of a crate and barrel. The 1904 St. Louis Olympic Marathon was a disaster. It was a story of fraud, thievery, raw eggs, rat poison, food poisoning, liquor, feral dogs, and at least 3 separate incidents of near death.
Oh.
It was the stupidest sporting event of all time.
Let's go. I like stupid. This editing is so janky. It, like, intentionally janky. A show about stories that are pretty good. Whoa. Oh, that's just how the audio sounds. I was wondering if I was just playing a lot of things at once. It's just how the audio sounds. No, that's the usual speed. Usual speed right there.
Hello. I bought you a present.
Yay.
Go on. Open it.
Okay, open it.
Why won't you open it?
I don't have hands.
Right, here. I'm so sorry. I'll do it.
Okay.
Look, it's a board game. The 1904 St. Louis Marathon. It
Whoa.
was very expensive. I bought it at this store. Oh, goodness, that's rude of me. I'm sorry.
The production value.
Yeah.
Cinema.
I guess that's the board. Some eggs, a couple of apples, a couple of bottles of brandy. Oh, here's the rule book. How to play. Yeah, what are the rules for marathons anyway? Oh, okay, you know what? Oh, hey, looks like they threw in a couple expansion decks.
Ooh.
Lucky us. Good ideas expansion deck. Let's see. Safety, sportsmanship, proper hydration, sobriety.
Those all sound like good things to have.
1904 Olympics. Oh, well, yeah, let's see what these Olympics were all about. 4 months long?
Oh.
What?
Oh.
Oh my god. You know what?
Oh.
Let's not use those. If you want to read more about that, I'll send you some links when we're done. Cool? Alright. Cool. Alright, let's bust out this board. This was the route of the 1904 Olympic Marathon.
There's so much heart that went into this, and I really love it. This was made 8 years ago, so it was pre-AIification and Schlopfest, but this is...
still exists in suburban St. Louis today.
It's heartwarming.
Most of them with the same names. The runners ran a few laps around the track at Francis Field, then out onto Forsyth, south on Merrimack and Brentwood, west on Manchester, north on Ballas Road, east on Clayton, north on what is now Lindbergh Boulevard, east on Olive, south on North and South, and then back on Forsyth to cross the finish line back at Francis Field. Or at least, that was the plan. Across the entire history of the men's Olympic marathon, 1,421 runners have finished with a time they bothered to record. They're represented on this bar, ranked from best time to worst time. The champion of this 1904 marathon ranks here.
Ooh.
Just consider how absurd that is. The
Wow.
guy who won this marathon was slower than 98% of the finishers of every other marathon. In fact, he was really slow. These are the finish times of every Olympic marathon champion. These days, they usually take somewhere between 2 hours, 15 minutes. Older marathons took longer, but none took nearly as long to decide as the 1904 marathon, which was nearly a half hour longer than every other marathon.
Oh my god.
Now,
It's
every
crazy.
marathon has its share of dropouts. Usually about 75 to 80% of runners slated for a marathon actually finish it. In 1904, 41 runners were entered into the marathon. 9 didn't show up. Only 14 actually finished. That's a finish rate of just 34%.
Imagine having a finish rate of 34%. Sorry, I had to make this.
From the outset, John Lorden seemed like a favorite.
Couldn't be
He won the
me.
Boston Marathon a year prior and was considered one of the best distance runners in the world. Well, he made it about here, and then he started vomiting profusely, and then he quit. 2 blocks. He made it 2 blocks.
Me.
How is that possible? How did a Boston Marathon champion bite it after 4 laps around a track and 2 blocks of jogging? What made this race so awful? The answer was a seemingly endless number of things, but I'll stop at 5. First off, it was really hot. I'm taking this from a paper published by Dr. Bill Roberts. He's a marathon director, and he contends that the ideal marathon temperature is 45 to 50 degrees Fahrenheit at the start of the race. Above that, dropouts and health issues increase. Dr. Roberts recommends that if the apparent temperature is 70 or warmer at the start of a marathon, you should maybe think about postponing that marathon.
Fair
the
enough.
temperature in St. Louis that day was recorded at 90 degrees in the shade.
Holy
But along
crap.
that route, there was almost no shade. In the sunlight, the temperature...
This is the kind of thing that provides the conditions for spontaneous combustion.
Which was probably closer to 100 or 105 degrees.
Oh my god.
That's not even taking the humidity into account. And as any Missourian will tell you, it can get humid as all hell. So clearly, they had to keep the runners hydrated. They didn't.
No.
According to most sources I'm relying on, there was only one water source, a well about 12 miles in. As for that well, it was a well. From the account of Charles J.P. Lucas, remember that name, by the way, the visiting athletes were not accustomed to the water, and as a consequence, many suffered from intestinal disorders.
Gave them
so
a
there's
well?
one water source, and it gives you butt problems. And that's it. For the last 13 miles, you're on your own. About 19 miles in, American runner William Garcia was found lying on the side of the road, coughing up blood. If a passing car hadn't found him, he probably would have died.
Damn.
But not because of dehydration, at least not directly.
It's because of his butt problems. Sorry.
See, Garcia wasn't running on pavement. These were mostly dirt roads that were described in at least one account as inches deep in dust. They weren't really meant for cars, but cars were driving on them anyway. They were driven by the race officials and trainers, and they didn't give the runners a lot of space. Their tires would kick up these massive clouds of dust that blinded and choked the runners. Garcia had swallowed so much dust that it effectively sanded the membrane off the inside of his stomach and caused massive hemorrhaging. He almost bled to death.
Holy fuck.
And when the route wasn't covered in dust, it was full of rocks. Some parts of the course were just covered in broken, jagged stones for runners to tiptoe through in basic turn-of-the-century footwear.
I love how he just has a bag of rocks.
Which Len Tagnane and John Masciane didn't. These two were the first African competitors in any event in the history of the Olympic Games. They were veterans of the Second Boer War who were only in St. Louis in the first place as war reenactors. Alright, so let's back up just a little bit.
That's kind of badass. Participating in a war and then reenacting the war.
The four Olympics
Jesus
were originally
Christ.
awarded to Chicago. The St. Louis World's Fair was scheduled for 1903 to celebrate the 100-year anniversary of the Louisiana Purchase, but they couldn't get it together and they had to push it back to 1904. So that meant two international events in the same region at the same time. That competition for spectators was bad news for both events. After a lot of political wrangling, St. Louis effectively stole the Olympics from Chicago and reduced it to a sideshow of the World's Fair, which was itself essentially a giant celebration of imperialism and racism that is beyond the scope of this video.
Damn.
Among the events were reenactments of battles from the Second Boer War that were put on by 600 actual soldiers who actually fought on both sides of the actual Boer War, which seems kind
I'm
of...
starting to realize that maybe they were not entirely able to consent to reenacting the war that they fought in. And that's kind of sad.
gross to me, but then again, so do most of the things I'm talking about here. Anyway, the St. Louis Olympics were stupid and the rest of the world didn't really care about them. The president of the Olympic Committee didn't even bother showing up.
Wow.
Only 14 countries sent any athletes to America. This marathon really needed participants, so Tagnane and Masciane signed up. They both finished. Tagnane was chased about a mile off course by a couple of wild dogs.
Jesus.
He finished 9th.
He finished 9th after getting chased by wild dogs.
100-degree heat, near complete lack of water, suffocating dust that almost killed a man, terrible terrain, and feral dogs. And let's add one more hazard for Felix Carvajal. He was wearing street clothes. Get ready to meet your new hero. Felix de la Caridad Carvajal y Soto was a mailman from Cuba. He had never run a marathon, he had never run competitively, the Cuban Olympic Committee did not invite him, and he didn't have enough money to get himself to the Olympics.
All he had was his mustache and a dream. He was just some guy.
That didn't stop Carvajal, who raised money by putting on running exhibitions, which I guess is just running for tips. According to one source, he actually ran the entire 700-mile length of Cuba.
Damn!
After a while, he raised the money he needed, and he took a boat to New Orleans, where he promptly lost all his money in a craps game. He was broke. St. Louis was another 700 miles away. Some of the way he hitchhiked or stowed away on a train car.
This
some
guy
of the way he
lived
just
life.
ran. And when he finally showed up at Francis Field that day, he looked like... Well, look how everyone else is dressed. Sleeveless shirts, shorts without belts, athletic shoes, you know, the kind of stuff you'd wear if you were about to run a 100-degree marathon.
And he's just...
Our friend Felix here is running this thing in a baggy long-sleeve shirt, street shoes, a belt, a beret, long johns,
He
and
wanted
heavy
to
shorts.
go out
And
in
even those
style.
weren't originally shorts. Carvajal actually wore long pants on top of his long johns to the race, but another runner saw him and said, "Hey, nope, you're not running in these." He got some scissors and cut him off at the knees. I think Carvajal wore this stuff because it was all he had. Okay, listen, I'm going to tell you this part of the story even though I don't...
Don't angle your Blue Yeti like that. That's not how you use a Blue Yeti. Ah, sorry. I'm okay. But you're supposed to speak into this part over here. So it's not even the right side. He needs to turn it around and have the microphone standing face up. You're not supposed to angle it down like a Shure SM7B.
I think it's true for two reasons. The first being that it's hilarious, and the second being
That's the reason why your audio sounds like
that Smithsonian's website claims that it's true, so did Marathon and Beyond magazine, so did a couple other sources I read. It can't have happened. It's too stupid. The story goes that the peaches Mr. Carvajal stole weren't enough for him, and he was still hungry. At one point, he stumbled upon an apple orchard. He picked a couple apples, and he ate them. Turned out those apples were rotten. He got a stomachache, lied down, and took a nap. After a while, he got up, started running again, and finished in 4th place. To recap, a Boston Marathon champion quits this race after a few
Maybe write a comment on this 8-year-old video being the one guy that's like, actually, your Blue Yeti microphone isn't stood up the right way. I'll just see about it on my Twitch stream in peace and leave this poor guy alone. He already put a lot into the production value. There had to be at least one thing wrong.
blocks. A mailman from Cuba in a beret and long johns who had never run a professional race and wasn't even invited and took a nap in the middle of the marathon finished 4th. So there you have it. That's the stupidest story of the 1904 St. Louis Olympic Marathon. I'm just kidding, it gets way stupider. Fred Loers was first off the starting line. He would later win the 1905 Boston Marathon, but this is the race he's remembered for. Without adequate water supply, lots of the runners are suffering from severe cramps, and Loers is one of them. 9 miles in, he throws in the towel, and one of the cars gives him a ride.
Whee!
Meanwhile, at the 16-mile mark, Thomas Hicks has built a considerable lead over the rest of the pack, but he's beginning to fall apart. He's completely dehydrated. Just behind him, his trainers are trailing him in an automobile. This is Charles J.P. Lucas, one of the trainers in the car. He wrote a book about the race that has proven to be a very valuable account.
Look at their little hats.
He was also a giant idiot. A little over halfway through the course, Hicks is begging Lucas for a drink of water. Lucas won't let him drink any, but he does offer to sponge out his mouth with water for some reason, and he also pours some water over him.
That just seems cruel. Like, just taunting them with their car and just, like, spritzing water at the clearly dehydrated and about to die runners. That's so fucked.
Some egg white. And then he feeds him rat poison.
Huh?
Again from his book. And then the author was forced to administer 1/60th grain of sulfate of strychnine. Okay, everyone, I think we probably better get a smart person on the phone.
Oh my
Dr.
God.
Sidney McElroy is the co-host of Sawbones, a podcast about the horrors of old-timey medicine. So if there's anyone to ask about strychnine, it's probably her.
True.
Strychnine is bad, right?
Generally speaking, yes. I certainly would not prescribe strychnine to somebody.
bad.
I mean, if you take too much, it'll kill you. I mean, that's the bad thing about strychnine. It's like a really super powered bad caffeine.
What does it do if you take too much?
So it blocks glycine receptors, and glycine is kind of what stops things. So once a nerve starts firing for us to move or do something, glycine stops that action. So if you block glycine, you're kind of turning off the off switch, so to speak. So you can't turn off. A little bit of that might make you better at running, say, a marathon. A lot of that would cause very violent, nonstop muscle contractions all over your body. If you've ever seen like classic paintings of people with tetanus.
Average person after an Alekirser audio.
In that arched position, it's the same kind of thing, like this awful arched position of your back that you would get stuck in, and then eventually you would stop breathing and die. It would be a horrible way to go.
Given everything you said, I was going to take like 10 pounds of strychnine, and after talking to you, I actually don't even think I'm going to take any strychnine.
Yeah.
I think that's the better plan.
Sounds
Meanwhile, Fred Loers, who quit the race due to dehydration, is about 10 miles into his car ride home when the car breaks down. It's hot, and the sun is beating down, and Lors sees no point in just standing around for hours waiting for help. Plus, he's starting to feel better. So he decides to get on his feet and start running again.
Yippee!
At the 20-mile mark, Hicks is falling apart. His skin is described as ashen pale.
Oh my
He's
God.
given more strychnine and a couple more eggs. And now Lucas decides to give him brandy, too.
Why?
In his book, Lucas calls brandy a stimulant, which it is definitely not.
Oh my God.
He's giving his runner rat poison and brandy and raw eggs
Just raw eggs, rat poison, and brandy. Hell yeah, brother.
sponging his mouth out with water and dumping water on his head, but he won't actually let his marathon runner drink water. Charles J.P. Lucas is the worst coach in the history
This is
of the
actually
world.
so stupid. Oh, toy soldier got in the yoke. Oh no. Oh no. This must have been a bitch to clean up. Holy shit. Delicious? No. V-card wielder, no. Why is he just playing with it?
At this point,
so
Hicks is begging Lucas to let him lie down, and Lucas is like, nope, keep going. And then Fred Lords gallops past him, looking almost impossibly good for someone 20 miles into a marathon. Hicks sees him, and his morale is destroyed.
No.
It looks like he might quit at any second. Thankfully, they learn that Lors is actually out of the race, so Hicks puts his chin back up and he starts to jog again. Hicks is still in the lead with 1 mile to go, again from Lucas. His eyes were dull, lusterless, the ashen color of his face and skin had deepened. His arms appeared as
Jesus
weights well
Christ.
tied.
Who is writing all this stuff? This is like... The trainer? The guy who made the book? The guy... is the guy that made the book the same guy that's feeding this guy rat poison and brandy and eggs and... So instead of helping him, he just decided to write an AO3 fanfic. Nice
down.
to keep in mind.
He could scarcely
yes.
lift his legs, while his
Yes.
knees were almost
delicious,
stiff.
yummy.
In
yum.
addition to 2 doses of strychnine, Hicks has now finished his entire canteen of brandy, so a friendly bystander gives him more brandy. He's losing it, even though he's only 1 mile from the finish line. Hicks keeps hallucinating that he's still 20 miles out.
It just keeps going. Oh my God.
He won't stop asking for food, and he's still begging for water. The answer from his trainers is still no. It's a miracle he's even standing. At this point, Lucas and another caretaker, H.C. McGrath, are helping him around, half carrying him.
And this music is really adding
Hicks
to the
finally
tension.
staggers
I'm
down
like
the last hill and into the
squatting on my
stadium,
chair.
just in time to see officials prepare to present the trophy to Fred Lors.
That guy cheated.
See, a
He took
marathon-
the car. He took the car. The other guy had to go through rat poison and brandy and eggs being raw, and he didn't even
It was a
win.
particularly weird thing to officiate and spectate prior to the advent of radio or TV or reliable cars. I mean, these people in the stadium saw a bunch of dudes run away, and then they sat around for 3.5 hours, and then they saw one of the dudes run back in. That dude was Fred Lors, and the crowd went nuts for him. He could have mentioned to somebody that he actually quit the race and rode half the course in a car,
But he
didn't. He just kind of let everyone think he won. When Hicks' team pitched a fit, Lors readily admitted, "No, yeah, I cheated. I was just messing with everybody."
That's so lame.
He just thought the whole thing was funny.
He just-
Lords accepted his disqualification and a lifetime ban that was rescinded a few months later. And that enabled Olympic officials to rightly present the winner's trophy to an almost dead...
Imagine you walk into your roommate's room and this is what you see on their table. What is the first thing you would think and or do in this situation?
drunk, rat-poisoned
Just a
man
joke,
who probably
bro.
had no
Just a
idea what was
joke.
going
Just a
on.
prank,
The
bro.
second Hicks crossed the finish line, he
It's for you
literally
too,
fell into the
huh?
arms of his manager.
Marry me.
He was too weak to accept the trophy. They loaded him into a car and took him straight to the hospital. Over the course of a 3-hour, 28-minute, 53-second marathon run, Thomas Hicks had lost 8 pounds.
Oh my God.
So, you know how there was only one source of water? Do you want to know why there was only one source of water?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to read this off the screen. I want to make sure I get it exactly right. James Edward Sullivan was an Olympic official. He was later named the Secretary of the U.S. Olympic Committee, and today he's in the National Track and Field Hall of Fame. That's James Sullivan. I'm going to read you a slight paraphrase from a book titled The 1904 Anthropology Days and Olympic Games. To test his more radical ideas, Sullivan and several personal trainers chose the marathon. The marathon thus serves as an excellent and infamous example of Sullivan's combination of flawed science and...
I'm sorry, it's just... Ugh, okay. Listen, you want to know how stupid this is? You want me to illustrate this to you? The audio is going from his mouth to the... only to this part. Only to the tippy, whippy, tippy top of this part of the microphone. And he's so far away. So that's why it sounds like ass.
Dubious comparisons. Sullivan provided only one official water stop to minimize fluid intake to test how far...
But he has sound foam? You can buy that shit off Amazon for schmeckles. And it doesn't soundproof anything. All it does is prevent audio from echoing from your walls, which doesn't even matter because he's so far away from his microphone that it just echoes across the fucking thing anyway.
Full dehydration could be taken.
It's not even like just sticking a bunch of foam panels on your thing doesn't treat your audio. This is the real horror story, is that people do this when the thing is, this is how I know people don't read. On the Blue Yeti box, it shows you expressly that you should avoid exactly this. Exactly this. I would forgive it if it was even turned the other way, but it's not. It's the opposite way. It's like the worst possible way to use your Blue Yeti.
He used the Olympic marathon as an experiment. He denied marathon runners water and subjected them to life-threatening conditions because he wanted to see what would happen.
I'm literally staring at my old Blue Yeti right now.
They were lab rats in his big, cruel experiment. They didn't even know it. What an asshole.
Anyway.
What a stupid asshole.
Yeah, he was stupid, but so are you.
Thomas Hicks gave every scrap of effort his body could muster in the service of the world's stupidest sporting event. It didn't deserve his sacrifice. Or Carvajal's, or Garcia's, or anyone else's. This was only the third modern Olympics, long before the Olympiad became the behemoth it is today. The prize they gave everything for was to have your name printed in small type in a table on a page of a dusty old book that sits closed in the dark and perhaps opened out of curiosity long after you're gone.
Damn.
All these people are gone. Everyone who saw them is gone. The wretched earth they ran on is gone. It's all asphalt. I grew up in suburbs like this one, in Kansas, Georgia, Kentucky, places so ordinary that ghosts don't even live there. Streets so normal, so full of TJ Maxx's and Starbucks that they play this trick on you, like nothing of any real importance could ever have happened there. That's a running shoe store.
Really
Missouri
makes
Running
you
Company,
think.
Google tells me. You can't make that up.
Having a running shoe store in the location where this travesty happened is just absolutely insane. I don't even know if that person that decided that it should be there should be fired or if they should be given a slow clap, because that's just, I don't even know how to begin to
Right there on
process
the marathon route. Lynn Tagnane and John Masciani and Felix Carvajal really could have used this back then. I wonder if these people have any idea.
And just remembering the people that participated in this. They all had such cool mustaches. Look at that. Look at that. Those mustaches. The music is... yes. Yeah, that made me really mad. That made me pretty mad. How could they be so stupid? Good job, John Boy. Good job. You did a fine video. I'll ignore the mic thing. I'm over it. 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 Anyway, let's see. One more video. Let's see. The year, the sub, the author. Thank you for the 2 months. Let's see. We've got. I already did this button. Somebody sent Wendigoon videos, and I love Wendigoon. I would do those another stream. Let me see. Is it long though? It's like 2 hours long. It's like 2 hours long, which is not bad. I'm down for a long deep dive into something really interesting. Don't worry. That's totally on the table. But I'm just thinking one more. The mediocre video and audio are part of the charm. I agree. In any which case, the fact that his, like, unironically speaking, the fact that his mic setup is like this, it does add to it because it shows like a degree of earnestness to his production value. Like this over here, he went the extra mile. He really just made everything by himself. This is a fully self-produced thing, and I can't fault anybody for trying to do everything by themselves because that's basically what I've been doing for the past 4 years until very recently with my videos and editing and stuff. So yeah, he put in the work, and I can't get mad at that level of ambition. No, sir. Okay, let's see. I'm trying to think of what is a good way to end this off on. We got Neurocam, which is a really good video that I watched a little bit about. A funny one. Okay, this one is called The Police versus My Audience. It's like, I think somebody sent this one in. Yeah.
Look, everyone, look. I'm Officer Mark.
Oh, God. Okay, yeah, no, this is gonna be fairly lighthearted, I think. Just looking at this whimsical man.
Look, everyone, look. I'm Officer Marge, and I'm here to arrest you. Why am I dressed like a cop? Because I'm insane and I'm impersonating a cop. I think I'm helping out. But also, it's because we asked you in the community tab, have you ever had a crazy run-in with the cops? 999 of you responded. Either you maxed out the tab, or we just checked at a very opportune time.
I wonder what I would get if I asked my audience that.
And I've got to say, isn't it phenomenal how many people thought, yeah, I committed a crime. I'll trade jail time for 15 seconds of fame. Criminal mastermind.
Yippee! Let's see.
First potential arrest. I was drunk and being chased by the police once. I like how the story starts there. It was like, yeah, I stole a bunch of watches. Look, that's not important. Dad was able to put some distance between me and the cop. Yes, I'm imagining because a lot of our force does look like Chief Wiggum with their donut. I got donut. I bailed out.
I was in a high school party that, got stopped by the cops and had us all running away once. That happened to me. The thing is, I only stopped by because I heard there was free cake. So I guess you could say I risked it all for cake. Like it wasn't my scene at all, but my friend was like, come on out, please. You can put down the insert streaming for insert K-pop group here for a little bit and eat some cake. And I was like, okay, sure. And the cake was great. It was great. I love mango.
Oh, you were in a car. What the fuck? Jesus, dude, this is even worse. This is just... Okay, alright. This is just a comment from O.J. Simpson before he died, wasn't it? I got another story too if you need it. And while walking back to my house, called 911 and reported my car stolen. The dispatch told me, actually, sir, they're in pursuit of your vehicle now. We'll have an officer stop by your house afterwards. I got home, cleaned myself up, and filed out a police report. 2 hours later, I had my car back and cracked open a beer in celebration. God bless the stupid cop. Here's a little tip for the future.
Okay, so... True crime indeed. Oh my god. The actual balls on somebody to do this shit. You know what? Hook, line, sinker. Good on you for pushing through with the execution.
Ration. God bless the stupid cock. Here's a little tip for the future. I'm going to blur your name, but can you never repeat this story ever again? This is really not in your interest to be bragging about this shit. Especially,
It's on the
I really
internet,
don't think
it's
you should
fine,
say
it's
stupid cops and then write this. You know what?
It's
I'm not blurring your
fine.
name. Look, your name is the undeniable champion 5344. Well, I'm glad at least there's some humbleness there. I'm assuming this is some kind of tennis ranking. Blood your picture though, and honestly, thank you for your story.
I mean, if your name is the undeniable champion, then you definitely have some balls on you.
So I ran the fuck out of there. Well, what else could you expect from the rat from Michael Cusack? Hey, yes, cop. Jeez, he's going down the drain. I don't want to go down there. When I was 8 years old, who are you, the bad guy in RoboCop 2? Yeah, you can't shoot me, RoboCop. Yeah. A cop showed up to our front door at 9 p.m. past bedtime. Oh, yeah, no, you're 8 years old. I was going to be like, oh my God, yeah, my bedtime is so good. I get to go to bed at 10. My bedtime is
I like
so
it when people laugh and they just become kettles. I find that very amusing. There's that one VTuber that laughs like a kettle. It's really silly. I can't do it.
Go to bed at 10. He asked if I was there and my dad made me come down. The cop proceeded to tell us a lady down the street who had beef with us for no reason. I'm not trusting, A, your shattered memory like 20 years on, and B, an 8-year-old saying, she's lying! You have to believe someone who has developed zero impulse control. Called 911 saying I hit his son on the head with a metal Thomas the Tank Engine lunchbox and made them get stitches. Okay, well that is a very specific, and might I just say, riddled with child incriminating evidence accusation, and for you to sit there, no, I hate Thomas the Tank Engine. You know, it's getting awfully close to 3:45. That's when Thomas the Tank Engine's on ABC. Please, you gotta let me see how teamwork gets the job done this time. I didn't own a lunchbox. This is amazing. This is just like...
My confession is that I never really watched Thomas the Tank Engine, and I never watched Thomas and his friends. And the reason for it was because I always found the faces creepy. I like trains, but I always thought that the faces were so creepy. I couldn't stand it. Like the same with Bob the Builder. I just couldn't stand the faces of Bob the Builder. Because they all look like they were made of Play-Doh. But the thing is, I was totally fine with Shaun the Sheep, and that's a show that was literally made in claymation. So it's like I was fine with Shaun the Sheep, but that's because Shaun the Sheep was cute. Anyway.
When Spaniard was saying, bro, you're accusing me of robbing this shop, but you bring out Nikes. I don't wear Nikes, that's for homos. She got ticketed for making a false report and we didn't hear from her again. And there's a follow-up to this. I still don't own a Thomas the Tank Engine lunchbox to this day. Although I kind of want one now that I'm in my 20s. Yeah. Lunchbox would be sweet. Bet you someone's going to bring one of those to my live show now.
Not a Thomas the Tank Engine lunchbox, but I want like a jazzy, fun thing. I remember like getting back from Universal Studios with a huge ass Minion water bottle. It was a Minion's head. It was like a liter big. It was really huge for my hands back then. And like it just had like a little straw that looked like hair. And that was the water bottle. It was just a big old Minion head with like a little straw that looked like a little hair. And it was like 2 liters big. 2 liters big. It was very huge. Yeah. Very impractical, but very silly. Just random memories.
Me over the head and give me stitches. Do it. Here's your chances. Pick whichever of these locations is convenient to you. When I was younger, I was going to a D&D session in Ipswich. Oh, wow, I bet you weren't bashed heaps at school. And everyone was already pissed out of their minds as we walked.
D&D is cool. In my latest session, we were finding the golden butt plug of destiny.
Station, the cop saw us and stopped to ask what we were doing. Dean, the older brother of one of the guys, jokingly but repeatedly shouted to the cops, "Search him! Oi, search him!" about his younger brother, not knowing that he was carrying a copious amount of drugs in his pockets. Well, how else are you supposed to get through a D&D sesh? Christ, copious. Fuck, I wasn't expecting it from the D&D nerds, I'll tell you that. Cops asked us what we were doing, where we were going. I told them we were off to play Dungeons and Dragons, and they left us alone. Wow, now
I
that
told my
is a
parents
good
that I
tip
started
for
playing
any of the drug
Dungeons and
peddlers out there.
Dragons
You know how
recently, and they
usually use
just
old
like, they
people
giggled to
smuggle
themselves.
drugs? You can also use,
They
I'm a level
giggled.
27
They're like, yeah, that makes
friar
sense.
mage that travels from town to town with my elixirs. Well, I'll just interpret the
They
elixir part
giggled.
as metaphorical. After all, no one that holy could be a bad man. Thanks for the advice. To avoid suspicion, either use reverse psychology or openly be a nerd. Yeah, that is good advice. No one wants to talk to nerds, unlike us cool cats who play Wingspan. Well, we would if we had any friends.
Is this gonna be an
Played-
ad?
There's a local cop
Okay,
who
no,
I've
it's
known
not
for
an
some
ad. Okay.
time. I work a late shift, so get out at midnight, and about once a week he will pull me over and just chat for a few minutes. Fuck the power. The power. He'll never have to deal with the suffering of having no friends. I don't have to worry about finding playing mates for Wingspan. I can make them play Wingspan. Each time the
Oh,
reason is
speaking
a
of board
profound
games, I bought one recently. Well, I already told you about it. I got chess, and I'm still figuring out how to set it up, but I really want to play with you guys. Yeah, I don't know. I saw a bunch of board games at the little TCG shop that I went to. It was mainly a Magic the Gathering shop, but there was like a bunch of stuff there. They had Catan. They had a lot of Warhammer stuff. It was really nice. Really, really nice. There are quite a few of those in my area. Yeah. I also got this little thing, along with a little dice rolling cup that I have. It's a little chair that says timeout, and I have a little dunce hat that fits perfectly over my thumb. So basically, if you're wondering what I've been doing all stream, it's been me fiddling with this dunce cap. I just put it on my thumb, and it just feels right being there. I got like a little dunce hat on my thumb.
a law that hasn't been enforced since the 20s
I
or
think it
older.
might be a
Pulled
thimble,
over
yeah.
today for the heresy of the church.
I'll take a picture of it tomorrow.
Dude, why wouldn't you want to get pulled over? I pulled you over for vacancy of land titles. I got you for illegally poaching on native lands without a permit. All right, in the comments right now, lawyers, tell us, what's the most hilarious ye old law? I'd want to do it.
Funniest outdated law. I can't think of many. Oh, thank you for the hydrate. Steppies, okay. Handling salmon suspiciously can get you in trouble with the law. Why? There's the Texas laws. It has something to do with dildos. That one, I know about that one, and it's not funny. It's really, really terrible. I believe in dildo freedom. Thank you for the cheers. Thank you. Yeah. Dildo freedom, baby. Yeah. Yes. What was I doing again? Oh, yeah.
Video just on that. I bet you we're going to get something like, yes, I'm aware a vampire was spotted in the fields last night. I'll put cloves of garlic around my dairy cows next time. Just give me the warning. Sometimes it will cheekily say something like, no, phone
I'm
business
not
today, I'm
tired.
afraid," in a
I'm
somber tone, and then you'll ask for a
Breatharian
license and papers.
maxing.
Oh, well, that was down. Then 180 and tell me I was pulled over for spreading profane literature. Got him. Has a double definition when you're talking about a cop pulling you over. Yeah, I wish I got that interaction from cops. This is the best I get. Hey, you're friendly Geordies. Can you
What did you say? Some of you need a goddamn limit on your dildo collections. If you need more than one shelf to hold them, it's time to slow down. Well, I have something to say to you, mister. God forbid a woman have hobbies. If you need more than a shelf to carry it, then buy a bookcase. Buy a dildo bookcase and have a grand old time. 'Cause this is a free world and we are living in it. So we need to seize the day and live our best lives. Buy a dildo bookcase today.
my ticket? No. Got arrested by 2 police officers on the Vegas Strip.
I want to go to Vegas soon. There's this place called Area 15 that I was told about that seems really interesting. It's like a unique little little zany little hobbit hole of secrets and fun gizmos that seems really interesting.
Ah, fuck, you're supposed to be anonymous.
Oh,
As a
Mega
newly
Mart?
driving license
Okay,
teen, I rolled my car going 55
Last time I was in
miles per
Vegas, I
hour.
was
That's
like
88 kilometers an hour. You don't have to tell me that,
I
mate.
watched Cirque du Soleil.
And
I wasn't
crawled
old enough
out
to
of
do
my
any of the
upside-down
fun
car
stuff,
to
so I just like
Seven
ate lots of
Nations
candy.
Army.
That's a song. You're supposed to know that. You're a boomer.
Yeah, I thought that it was just like he really fucked up on international law somehow. Like, once the police arrived, the first thing I was told was, "You can't park there." As I was the cop from the previous story. Got you on violation of Newton's laws of physics. Now, your turn. To which the cop laughed
Oh, he's
to himself.
Australian. I'm really sleepy. I'm sorry. I was like, oh. I was like, okay, yeah, no, this is just some dude.
His partner came over to me and
I'm
actually
sorry.
asked me to well, so he's just sitting there while you're in the
I'm
car.
Okay. Okay. That might be my body clock signal to start mellowing down.